gear down. 20, 10, 5, 4, touchdown. Nose gears 10, nose gears 5, 4, 3, 3, touchdown. Bienvenidos, amigos.
This Mission Control Houston at 7 days, 12 hours, 21 minutes. The vehicle is just now passing over Guam on its 122nd orbit of the Earth. Just a head loss of signal and downlink data at Guam indicates the systems on board are performing as expected. Crew continues to have a restful night with 3.5 hours remaining in their sleep period. This is Mission Control Houston. This is Mission Control Houston. Mission elapsed time 7 days, 13 hours, 2 minutes. 3 hours remaining in the astronaut sleep period. Vehicles on orbit 123 just passed over the S-band station at Santiago, Chile. Got good data down, and systems on board the vehicle are in great shape. The astronauts' sleep period completely undisturbed. Of course, word has been distributed through the area of flood warnings, high tides with possible effect on the Seabrook and Kima areas. The flight control team has been advised, and the assurances have been made that the roads will be open and that the oncoming entry team members who live in those areas would have accessibility to the site and won't have any problems getting on site. And it appears that none of the entry team members are residents of areas which would be affected by the flooding or possible flooding, so that concern has been alleviated here in the control center. Have acquisition of signal again in about 5 minutes through Ascension and Dakar. This is Shuttle Mission Control. This is Mission Control Houston at 7 days, 14 hours, 33 minutes. Columbia on its 124th orbit of the Earth just had loss of signal through Santiago, Chile, and the downlink data continues to reveal that the vehicle is performing nominally. All onboard systems are working well. The astronauts are continuing through their sleep period undisturbed. Wake-up time is in about an hour and a half. Some of the entry team members have begun to arrive in the Mission Control Center here, working with local law enforcement officials. The Control Center has determined that the flood warnings in the Johnson Space Center area will not constitute any problem in allowing the oncoming entry team members to obtain street access to the Space Center. Flight Director Tommy Holloway's change of shift briefing, we believe, is going to be on schedule at 2:30 a.m. Central Time. From the Mission Control Center at 7 days, 14 hours, and 34 minutes. This is Shuttle Mission Control, 7 days, 15 hours, 35 minutes. Columbia on orbit 124. Flight Director Harold Drawn and his team of flight controllers are presently debriefing here in the Mission Control Center, preparing to relieve Flight Director Tommy Holloway and his team. The Drawn team, of course, will take over control of the vehicle and prepare itself and astronauts Jack Lousma and Gordon Fullerton for deorbit and landing activities this morning. The Tommy Holloway change of shift briefing will occur on time at 2:30 a.m. Central Time in the NASA News Center Building 2, Room 135. This is Mission Control Houston. This is Shuttle Mission Control at 7 days, 16 hours, 14 minutes. The crew is awake, or should be awake. In fact, we are in a loss of signal period we'll acquire in about 7.5 minutes through Madrid. And that will be our first voice contact, and may in fact be the wake-up contact if the crew hasn't set any alarms on board Columbia to assure that they wake up at the expiration of the sleep period. The briefing with change of shift briefing with Flight Director Tommy Holloway should begin on schedule at 2:30 a.m. Central Time in the Building 2 News Center. Columbia is on its 125th orbit of the Earth, and we are standing by to get our first voice contact of the morning with the crew in about 6 minutes through Madrid. Once again, the Tommy Holloway briefing, change of shift briefing, in about 15 minutes at 2:30 a.m. Central Time. This is Shuttle Mission Control at 7 days, 16 hours, 16 minutes. This is Shuttle Mission Control at 7 days, 16 hours, 19 minutes. Flight Director Tommy Holloway has advised it'll be necessary to slip his change of shift briefing until 3 a.m. Central Time due to the prudent nature of the handover and the necessity to make sure that all systems issues are handed completely from one team to the other. It'll be necessary to prolong his debriefing period that long, and accordingly the change of shift briefing will be delayed 30 minutes until 3 a.m. Acquisition of signal in 2.5 minutes through Madrid for our first voice contact of the day with the vehicle at 7 days, 16 hours, 19 minutes. This is Shuttle Mission Control. It's Mission Control at 7 days, 16 hours, 22 minutes. Expect voice contact through Madrid. Momentarily, our first contact of the day with the crew.
What difference if I hail from north or south, or from the east or west? My heart is filled with love for all of these. I only know I swell with pride, and deep within my breast I thrill to see all glory, fame, and breeze. This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth. I pledge thee my allegiance, America, the whole, for this is my country to have and to hold.
Good morning, Columbia, Houston through Madrid for 4.5 minutes. Over.
Gordo better stand up. Okay, you can sit down now.
Thank you. If Mr. Kranz were here, he would have loved that.
Good morning. It's a good morning up here. How's it down there? We're right over the Straits of Gibraltar. What a sight.
Oh, great. We got 3 minutes to go, and it's a good morning here. We're trying to set you up for 129 to Northrop, Jack.
Steve, good morning to you. Jack didn't answer because he wants to get a picture of this.
Okay, Gordo, we got some teleprinter messages coming up that'll outline the changes you need to put in your deorbit prep, the mission summary with the game plan, and I have a CRT timer update for a countdown to TIG at Northrop on 129, over.
Okay, hold 1 second.
All right, item 17 plus 23 plus 13 plus 00, over.
Okay, I'm at the CRT. Taking the time quickly once again.
Roger, Gordo. Item 17 plus 23 plus 13 plus 00, over.
Okay, we got that. And we also already read the teleprinters, except we couldn't find one of the messages on there. I think it was message number 83.
Okay, I'm told we just retransmitted 83, and to check your clock, we're showing about 6 hours, 45 minutes, and 50 seconds now to TIG.
Okay, well, I didn't get it in there, so I just scribbled it down, but we'll check it later on.
Okay.
Change in wake-up time gives us a lot of viewing places that we haven't seen before.
Oh, good. And Columbia, Houston, we're 10 seconds LOS now. All the teleprinter messages were transmitted. We'll see you next at Aurora in 35 minutes.
Okay.
It's Mission Control Houston at 7 days, 16 hours, 28 minutes. Columbia on orbit 125. Wake-up call, the Capcom Steve Nagel uplink "This is my country" to the crew, and the crew responded with the downlink of medley of the Air Force song and the Marine Corps hymn. And Jack Lousma correctly reported their position over the Straits of Gibraltar, the vehicle now in the Mediterranean Sea, over the Mediterranean Sea, right at the southern tip of Italy. And activities on board are preparation for the day and the morning meal. Post-sleep activities involve also configuring the communications and electronic management, energy management activities on board, configuring cabin lighting and removing and replacing window shades and stowing equipment. And we expect a rather light activity this morning for the crew, and giving them the opportunity to leisurely prepare for the deorbit activities. Again, the change of shift briefing with Flight Director Tommy Holloway, regrettably but necessarily, has had to be postponed until 3 a.m. Central Time in order to give the flight control teams the opportunity to assure that all systems issues have been handed over and are mutually understood by both teams. Mission elapsed time now 7 days, 16 hours, 30 minutes. This is Shuttle Mission Control. Shuttle Mission Control, just a reminder that acquisition of signal will occur in about 32 minutes through the UHF station at Arroyo. Correct that, through the S-band station at Arroyo Valley. Next voice contact in just over 31 minutes at 7 days, 16 hours, 32 minutes. This is Shuttle Mission Control. This is Shuttle Mission Control at 7 days, 16 hours, 42 minutes. With apologies, it becomes necessary to further slip the change of shift briefing with Flight Director Tommy Holloway another half an hour until 3:30 a.m. Central Time. The purpose of this to give him the opportunity to listen and participate in the acquisition of signal period over Arroyo Valley, which begins 20 minutes from now and is a pass of some 5 minutes in duration. Give him an opportunity to look at data from the vehicle and exchange some remarks with the crew and participate further in the preparations for deorbit and entry today. Again, regrettably but unavoidably, we once again slip another 30 minutes on the change of shift briefing with the flight director of the ascent team. That briefing now set for 3:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Acquisition of signal in 20 minutes. Mission elapsed time 7 days, 16 hours, 43 minutes. This is Shuttle Mission Control. This is Shuttle Mission Control at 7 days, 16 hours, 53 minutes. The oncoming flight director, Harold Drawn, just received a weather briefing from the Weather Systems Officer, indicating that weather at Northrop Strip looks good for today. A high pressure is developing off the coast of California, southwest in the area of Baja. And that high pressure is driving away wind troughs, which had plagued Northrop yesterday. And the weather officer described it as a very encouraging trend at Northrop. Kennedy Space Center is being influenced by a high on the Atlantic coast offshore, which generating a strong gradient, producing fairly strong winds. Forecast calls for ceiling of 7,000 feet, broken clouds. Winds would be less favorable, particularly crosswinds would be less favorable than yesterday. Nevertheless, weather conditions at both Kennedy and Northrop at this juncture appear to be acceptable for landing at either site today. And forecast for tomorrow looks even better. And in fact, Kennedy, Northrop, and Edwards Air Force Base would appear to have improved and favorable weather for landings at those locations tomorrow. Acquisition of signal in 4.5 minutes through Arroyo Valley. We remind you again, the change of shift briefing with off-going flight director Tommy Holloway will be conducted at 3:30 a.m. Central Time. At 7 days, 16 hours, 55 minutes. This is Shuttle Mission Control.
This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 17 hours, 2 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia is on orbit number 125, approaching acquisition through Aurora Valley.
Columbia Houston through Aurora Valley for 5 minutes, over.
Okay, we got you at Aurora, Steve, and we're just putting the changes into our deorbit prep. We got an IMU line attitude loaded in.
Okay, fine. I'd just like to confirm with you that you do have the proper messages. Could I go over them, please?
Go ahead, Steve.
At Madrid, we sent up 83 Echo, 86 Alpha, and 87, and previously we had sent up 84 Bravo. 4 messages, over.
Okay, we got 83, 86, 87. Was 84 the PTI one?
That's affirmed.
Okay, 84 was the orbit prep backout changes. We got that. We've apparently got all the messages.
My mistake, and you're right. 86 Alpha is the entry maneuvers.
And we've done the preliminary work on the orbit prep message. We did the work on FA3 and we interconnected in fuel cell purge. Look at the fuel cells, if you would, please.
Okay, we're looking at those, and no water dump required this morning, Jack.
Roger, no water dump.
Columbia, Houston, we show on the ground that AV Bay 3 smoke detector A shows an alarm output. Did that occur when you discharged the handheld into that bay, or do you have an alarm now? Over.
No, that occurred when we discharged the extinguisher into the AV bay.
Copy, thank you. Jack, did you attempt to reset that smoke detector with no joy? Over.
I did not try to reset it. I will do that now, however.
Roger.
Okay, it reset well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Columbia, Houston, 1 minute to go in this pass. I do have some cryo switches on R1 and A11. If it's inconvenient, we'll get them at the next pass.
Let's do it.
Okay, on panel R1, O2 and H2, tank 3, heaters alpha to auto, Gordo.
He's got that.
And back on panel A11, same thing for tank 4, cryo, O2, H2, tank 4, heaters alpha to auto, over.
Okay.
Thank you, that's for cryo management. We're not recording voice yet this morning, and we're 20 seconds LOS. We'll see you next at Buckhorn, at Bermuda, in about 32 minutes.
Okay, we'll see you there, Steve.
This is Shuttle Control. Aurora has loss of signal. Next station is Bermuda in 34 minutes. That's 7 days, 17 hours, 9 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 17 hours, 43 minutes mission elapsed time. The Bermuda station will acquire Columbia in about 30 seconds.
Columbia, Houston through Bermuda, over.
Okay, we got you through Bermuda. We got the activities done down to 5 hours.
Copy, down to 5 hours. Very good.
Steve.
Go ahead. Columbia, Houston, go ahead.
As we noticed that the hydraulic accumulator pressure is reading off scale low, we presume that there's just some instrumentation that's not powered up. Is that correct?
Roger, the DFI is powered down, Jack.
All right, thank you. We surmised the same. Wanted to be sure to check with you on that.
That's fine. If you do have time on this pass, we would like the torquing angles and time from the IMU alignment, and also I have some METs of future maneuvers if you want them.
Okay, here's the torquing angles. You ready to copy?
Go ahead.
IMU 1, plus 0.05, plus 0.09er, minus 0.28. IMU 2, minus 0.12, minus 0.05. Plus 0.19er, IMU 3, plus, correction, IMU 3 minus 0.07, plus 0.12, minus 0.04. I'll copy. I'll hear torque at 1724.45.
Okay, copy, good, Jack.
Go ahead with your times.
Roger, the first is at TIG minus 302 for the auto maneuver to top sun on page 3-27, over. time is 7 days, 20 hours, 11 minutes. Over.
Okay, copy 72011.
Roger. Next is on page 3-33.
IMU attitude, go ahead.
Roger. IMU attitude, top of the page, 7 days, 21 hours, 14 minutes. Over.
7/211400.
Roger. At the bottom of the same page for top sun attitude, 7 days, 21 hours, 38 minutes. Over.
Okay, top sun 7/213800. I'll copy.
That's a good copy, and that's all I have, Jack.
All right, thank you. We'll put down a little breakfast and tidy up around here and get on with it.
Roger.
Got any weather updates?
Roger, stand by. Jack, for Northrop on deorbit Rev 129, landing 130, 25,000 scattered, visibility 7 plus, winds are 270 at 10, gust to 20, altimeter 3003, so it's looking good.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get you an update on the upper winds forecast a little later, and we are now 30 seconds LOS. Next is Madrid in 7 minutes.
Insane.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia has lost signal with Bermuda. Next station, Madrid, in 6 minutes. Crew preparing for breakfast. And we gave them a brief on the weather at Northrop for landing this morning. At 7 days, 17 hours, 49 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 17 hours, 55 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia coming up on acquisition through Madrid.
Columbia, Houston through Madrid for 6 minutes. Over.
You still there, Steve?
We're here, Jack.
Hello there, Brewster. You'll appreciate this being a farm boy. I got my gardener working here. He'll be with you in a minute. Have the PGU folks standing by.
Okay, we'll do that. And Jack, I have a comment on your the state of your jets.
Go ahead.
Okay, at TIG-5, the update message tells you to go to a dual G2 configuration and configure the RJDs and go to normal jets. We'd like you to stay to do that. Go to dual G2 and configure RJDs, but stay on the vernier jets until TIG-4 hours when the message has you doing the rad bypass. And just prior to the rad bypass at TIG-4 to go to the normal jets. Over.
Okay, just prior to rad bypass at TIG-4, go to the normal jet.
That's good readback, Jack.
And here's some numbers for you. It's a cool night in the PGU right now. It's 24.0, 23.9er, 23.7, 23.6, 23.6, 23.5, and the lamp status is off. The sun is down.
Okay, copy that. And do you have a time for that? Right now, huh?
That's right, right now.
Okay. Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds LOS. Yargadee is next in 27 minutes. We are recording voice again, and we show the TIG time is minus 5 hours, 11 minutes, and 10 seconds.
Okay, set away. Thank you.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia has moved out of range at Madrid. Next acquisition through Yargadee in Australia in 26 minutes. At 7 days, 18 hours, 2 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control. It's 7 days, 18 hours, 28 minutes mission elapsed time. Yargady is about to acquire Columbia.
Columbia, Houston through Yargady for 7 minutes. Over.
Okay, Brewster, how do you read?
Read you 5 by, Gordo.
Okay, Yargady is coming in better today. We're just busy. Put things away.
Okay, kind of copied that. I don't think Yargady's all that hot. We're not reading you all that well.
We're packing it up again, Brewster.
Okay, I copied that, Jack.
I figured you'd get that one.
Columbia, Houston, we have 6 minutes left in this pass. Sometime while you're passing by your deorbit prep book, I've got a couple of notes, but there's no rush.
Okay, I'm passing right by it. Why don't you shoot them up?
Okay, Gordo. On page 3-21 at TIG-415, there is an ARS water loop config, bubble 4.
Okay, I've got that.
Okay, you can delete that bubble, and instead of doing that, all we want you to do there is trim water loop 2, interchange your flow to 950 plus or minus 25.
All right.
And the next comment is at the bottom of that page at TIG-4, where we're going to do the rad bypass.
That's correct. Okay.
Okay, and the object there is we'd like to try and look at controller B, Pry B again. Yesterday, if you recall, when you went to controller Pry B, you got a fault message, evap out temp, and we went back to A. We'd like you to go to Pry B again today, and when you bypass a rad, you may get an initial evap out temp message, and we'd like you to sit on Pry B for a little while. If you get another message following, then go to Pry A, but if you don't get one, let it sit on Pry B for about 5 minutes to stabilize out. If it does, then we'll get you back on Pry A prior to entry. Over.
Okay, we'll give Pry B another shot.
Okay, that's essentially it, Gordo. Columbia, Houston, 15 seconds LOS, Auroral in 1 minute.
Okay.
Columbia, Houston through Auroral Valley for 4.5 minutes. GNC Spec 1, please.
Stand by. Okay, you got it?
We see it on CRT 1, thank you.
We just got an OBC status message. Are you commanding a payload or something?
That's affirmative. Gordo, CRT 1 is yours. Columbia, Houston, 30 seconds LOS. Looks like you're ahead of the timeline and looking good. We'll see you over Mila in 30 minutes.
Okay, we just did the PCS config. You can have a last quick look at that.
Copy.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia is moved away from the range of the Auroral station. Next acquisition through Merritt Island in 29 minutes. That's 7 days, 18 hours, 43 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 19 hours, 3 minutes mission elapsed time. Flight Dynamics Officer Craig Sterezinich has generated new entry elapsed time for a orbit 129 deorbit and landing at Northrop on orbit 130. Time for the deorbit ignition is now 7 days, 23 hours, 13 minutes, 30 seconds. Entry interface at 7 days, 23 hours, 34 minutes, 42 seconds at an altitude of 416,000 feet and a range from Northrop Strip of 4,100 miles. Blackout would begin at 7 days, 23 hours, 37 minutes, 23 seconds at an altitude of 334,000 feet and a range of 3,500 miles. Blackout ends 7 days, 23 hours, 52 minutes, 14 seconds at an altitude of 173,000 feet and a range of 500 miles. And touchdown 8 days, 0 hours, 5 minutes, 3 seconds. That is the latest information that has been generated by the Flight Dynamics Officer. Columbia is about 7 minutes away from acquisition through Merritt Island. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
Columbia, Houston through Mila for 11 minutes. Over.
Hello, we're hearing you loud and clear through Mila. Brewster, go ahead.
Read you 5 by Jack. Columbia, Houston, a reminder, you're coming up on the red bypass stow, and you'll need to get the RJDs on and go to normal jets prior to that.
Okay. Okay, we're on normal jets. Can we turn the verniers off now?
Yes, Jack, you can do that now if you like.
Okay, we'll just turn the vernier driver off.
Okay.
Okay, here we go with level 1 if you want to watch this, Houston.
Say again, Jack.
I don't know what station we're over right now, but we're doing level 1 and 318. In case you wanted to watch.
Okay, we're over Mila.
Okay, we got prime heat on and the high load evaporator enabled.
Okay, Jack, we're looking at that, and we'd like to be on DAP B.
DAP B. Stowing radiators, Brewster.
Copy.
Is it Columbia?
Go ahead.
You're looking at data on the radiators. You may see them, the port radiator come unlatched briefly and then back latched. Kind of overshot off position with the switch.
No problem. Columbia, Houston, we're 45 seconds LOS. Your DPS, PCS, and RCS configurations all look good. Primary B is controlling pretty well now. We'd like to stay on it until at least Madrid, and we'll get you back on A for the entry.
Okay, that's good news. Thank you, Richard.
Roger.
This is Shuttle Control. Bermuda has loss of signal. Next acquisition through Madrid in 5 minutes. Radiators are being bypassed, and crew will begin the process of closing the payload bay doors in about 30 to 40 minutes. We're 3 hours, 49 minutes away from deorbit ignition. That's for an orbit 129 deorbit with a landing at Northrop on orbit 130. At 7 days, 19 hours, 24 minutes. Mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
Columbia, Houston, through Madrid for 4 minutes.
Okay, long term through Madrid, Brewster.
Got you, Jack. Columbia, Houston, primary B has been controlling nicely. We can go to A now. We'd like primary B off and then primary A on. Over.
Okay, primary B off and A is coming on.
Roger, thank you. Columbia, Houston, ignore the evap out temp and it'll come back down.
That's coming back down right now. About 46.
Roger. Columbia, Houston, 30 seconds LOS. Indian Ocean is next in 12 minutes.
Okay, we're just starting over a mighty big beach here.
Roger.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia is out of range now at Madrid, heading toward the Indian Ocean Station on orbit number 127.
Columbia, Houston, through Indian Ocean for 7 minutes. Over.
Hey, Richard, when you look at the line on the big map there, how close to the Seychelles do we go on this path?
You go northeast on a southeasterly heading, and I'll see if I can find out how close you are. Gordo, we think at your closest point, which is coming up real shortly here, you'll be between 200 and 300 miles, and it should be to your southwest.
Okay, that's probably a little far to see. It looks like we got clouds.
Columbia, Houston, we have 2 minutes left in this pass. You are go for the payload bay door closing on time as per the message, and we sure would recommend that you do a manual closing of the doors. Columbia, Houston, we're 1 minute LOS. Did you copy the last transmission? Columbia, Houston, over. Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds LOS. Yargadi is next in 8 minutes, and in the blind you have a go for payload bay door closing. We recommend manual closing.
This is Shuttle Control. The Indian Ocean Station has loss of signal. Next acquisition with Columbia through Yargadi in 8 minutes. Crew has been given a go to close the payload bay doors. It's 7 days, 19 hours, 55 minutes. Mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 20 hours, 2 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia approaching acquisition through Yargadi. We should get a report here on the payload bay door closing.
Columbia, Houston, through Yargadi for 7 minutes. Over.
Okay, we're hearing you through Yargadi. How many, Brewster?
I'll read you 5 by, Jack. Over Indian Ocean, we passed you a go for the payload bay door closing and recommended a manual closure. Did you copy that? Columbia, Houston, how do you read? Over.
5 square, Brewster. How many?
I have you 5 square as well, Jack. Did you copy our go for payload bay door closing?
Negative, but we'll do it. Thank you. We're waiting for that.
Okay, Jack, and we recommend that you close them manually rather than using the auto sequence.
Understand manual closure. Thank you.
Columbia Houston, 20 seconds LOS, Aurora Valley in 2 minutes.
Okay, we'll see you at Aurora. We're getting ready to close the doors.
Okay, we can watch it happen.
This is Shuttle Control. Yargety has loss of signal. Aurora Valley will pick up Columbia in about a minute and a half. Jack Lousma reporting they are beginning to close the payload bay doors. We'll stand by for Aurora.
Columbia Houston through Aurora Valley for 4 minutes, over.
Okay, we're hearing you through Aurora, and we're stowing the port door.
Okay, we see that in work.
This is Shuttle Control. Telemetry shows that the port door is closed now. This is Shuttle Control. The starboard door is closed now.
Columbia Houston, 25 seconds LOS. We see both doors closed and the bulkhead latches secured. Reminder to go to top sun attitude, and we'll see you next through Mila in 31 minutes.
Okay.
This is Shuttle Control. Aurora has loss of signal. Columbia starting out over the Pacific Ocean now toward continental United States. We should get some communications through the White Sand Station on this pass in 25 minutes, followed by Merritt Island, Florida. At 7 days, 20 hours, 17 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 20 hours, 41 minutes mission elapsed time. Standing by for acquisition through White Sands.
Columbia Houston through the States for 15 minutes, over.
This is Shuttle Control. We believe the crew is still suiting up. We'll have communications once they get their suits on and their headsets reestablished.
Columbia Houston through the States for 12 minutes, over. Columbia Houston through the States for 12 minutes, over. Columbia, Houston, how do you read? Columbia, Houston, through the States for 11 minutes. How do you read? Over. Columbia, Houston, you're unreadable. Let's wait till we get to Mila here in another minute or so.
Yes, sir, Columbia.
Columbia, Houston, go ahead. Columbia, Houston, through Mila for 9 minutes. Over.
Okay, Steve, on clear.
Got you 5 by, Gordo. I have the Del pad and maneuver pad on this pass.
Okay, stand by 1.
Roger.
Yeah. Okay, what kind of pad you got there for us?
Jack, we'll start with the Del pad, burn attitude when you're ready.
Okay, go ahead with the Del pad, Steve.
Roger, burn attitude. 143.072, 352, 122, minus 017, 270.7, 229, all balls. 200, 085, 085, 85, forward RCS Delta V, 06, dump to oxidizer, 00, 109.5.1, all balls. Read back.
Okay, 143, 072, 352, 122, minus 017, 270.7, 229er, all balls, 200, 085, 085, 85, 06, ox, 00, 109.1, all balls.
Roger, that XCG was 109.5.1, and I'll pick up with EI minus 5 inertial attitude, 213, 272, 024, right, 000. There is no Guam AOS or LOS. Altimeter, 30.03, 23, 39er, 34, 17600. A left-hand turn, Northrop, runway 23. Winds, 25060, 250110, 265120, 27085, 27040, and on the surface, 27015. Read back.
Okay, I got 213, 272, 024, 3 balls, right 3 balls. Blank, blank, 3003, 23, 39er, 34, 17600. Left-hand turn, Northrop 23, and I got the winds.
That's a good read back, and Jack will watch the winds real time. If they don't develop to be as strong as forecast, you may be thinking about the runway 17 options also. And I will also later discuss with you the ground track site coverage for the last orbit and entry, because it is different.
All right, then we might also be thinking about right-hand turns, it looks like.
That's affirm, and I'm ready on the maneuver pad whenever you are.
Go ahead on the maneuver pad, Steve.
Roger. Ohms both. TV roll 180 plus 0.1 minus 5.7 plus 5.7 214769er 007 2313 30.0 15456 minus 0.6222 065.832 086 .106. All balls. Delete peg 7. Read back.
Steve, second, Theta T.
Theta T is 086.106. Over.
Okay, we copy Ohms both. TV roll 180 plus 0.1 minus 5.7 plus 5.7. Weight is 214769er. 7 days, 231330.0. C1 15456 minus 0.6222. 065.832. 086.106. 0 under propellant. Delete peg 7.
That's a good readback. Continuing with burn attitude. 143.072. 352. 4156. 1840. Delta V total 0270.7. 0229er. Vigos X plus 0260.60. Y is all balls. Z plus 073.43. Target HA and HP 122 and minus 017. Read back.
Hey, copy, burn attitude 143.072.352. 4156. 1840. 0270.7. 0229ers. Vigo X plus 0260.60. All balls plus 073.43. HA 122 minus 017.
That's a good readback, Gordo. 2 minutes left in this pass.
Yep.
Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds LOS. Next is Madrid in 6 minutes. See you there.
Okay.
This is shuttle control. Bermuda has loss of signal. Madrid is next in 5.5 minutes. During this pass, crew was given the pad for the deorbit burn. The delta V, the change in velocity of that burn, 270.7 feet per second. Duration of the burn, 2 minutes, 29 seconds. Targeting toward
NASA
runway 23
Houston.
at Northrop with a left-hand turn. That's 7 days, 20 hours, 58 minutes. Mission elapsed time. This is shuttle control, Houston.
946 is with you at Northrop now.
Okay, sorry, 946. John, have you flown any patterns, or are you just getting out there?
Just passing 35,000 on the way up, and the winds look pretty close to the forecast wind so far. We'll report it.
Roger, if you do have any numbers to pass to us, we'll copy and then get back with you later, John.
46, you dropped out there. Say again.
Roger, 946. If you do have any winds to pass to us, we'll copy them now, and then I'll get back with you later.
Okay, the last surface wind was 170 at 8, 2,000 foot, 240 at 20, 7,000 foot, 270.43, 10,000 feet, 265 at 53, 15,000, 260.69, 20,000, 263.76, 25,000, 260 at 100. 30,000 is 260 at 125.
Copy that.
Right now it looks like a right-hand turn into 17. The visibility is Cavu to Mars. You can see almost all the way to San Francisco peaks, and it's clear out as far west as we can see.
Okay, John, that sounds very good. Thank you. We'll call you after the next Madrid pass, which will be about 7:08 Houston time.
Yeah.
This is Shuttle Control. That was John Young in NASA 946, one of the shuttle training aircraft. Now airborne over Northrop Strip, providing winds aloft information. He will be making some approaches to the runways at Northrop and providing recommendations on winds, the best runways, and whether right or left-hand turns are recommended. We're 2 minutes away from acquisition through Madrid. We'll stand by.
Columbia, Houston through Madrid for 3 minutes, over.
Okay, I'm waiting for 4 minutes on the radiator. Also, okay.
Roger. Columbia, Houston, the vernier jet heaters have been powered off for some time now. The injector temps are dropping, so prior to Ops 3 transition, you may trip the RM leak threshold. No action required if you do.
Okay.
Columbia, Houston, 3 minutes left in this pass. We are not doing the DFI PCM recorder rewind, and just a reminder to use it sparingly.
Roger. Okay, we're back at high half, Steve.
Roger. Columbia, Houston, you are go for Ops 3 transition, over.
Okay, go for Ops 3.
Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds to LOS. Now, next is IOS in 13 minutes, and we had some uplink problems last time. You may expect some UHF uplink problems with us next time.
Okay.
This is Shuttle Control. Loss of signal at Madrid. That's Columbia moving down over Africa toward the Indian Ocean Station in 12 and a half minutes. Crew given a go for Ops 3. That's transition to the computer program for entry and landing. We're 2 hours, 4 minutes away from the deorbit burn. Mission elapsed time of 7 days, 21 hours, 9 minutes. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
NASA 946, Houston, we're back with you for about 11 minutes.
Houston 946, go ahead.
Roger, John, we're back with you for about 11 minutes. We'll just stand by.
Roger, and I'd like to remind you that the winds are in true degrees and it's above ground level.
Copy that.
Houston 946 reporting the winds at 35,260 at 130, at 39,250 at 110. That's above ground level.
Houston copies. NASA 946 Houston, we're going to sign off here and we'll pick you up next after our IOS pass at about 7:27 Houston time.
946, copy. Thanks a lot. We're in a STEM run right now. I'll let you know what we see.
Thank you.
This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 21 hours, 20 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia is approaching acquisition through the Indian Ocean Station.
Columbia, Houston through iOS for 5 minutes, over.
Okay, we're going to run through iOS. We're going to go in.
Roger. Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds LOS. Next is Yagadi in 12 minutes, over. NASA 946, Houston.
946, go ahead.
Roger, we're back with you for about 10 minutes and ready to copy.
Okay, we just made our first pass with the right-hand turn into 17, and the wind really throws you around the curve, and you tend to overshoot. And but it certainly looks good and feasible to do. We're carrying full speed brakes in orbiter. That 25,000 foot wind, 260 at 100 is what gets you going around the corner there, and it worked out just fine. But it looks like the surface wind is increasing. Right now it's 170, 10 to 12, and if it keeps doing that, well, we probably ought to look at 2-3 for the crosswind.
We copy that. Any amendment to the winds aloft?
Oh, you've got them all.
Roger.
There's down around pre-flare, right at 2,000 feet, there's an area where the wind shear goes from about 8 knots to about 22 or 23 knots, and it's an area of a moderate turbulence there.
Okay, copy that. Wind shear at around 2,000 feet.
Right, it's just a moderate turbulence. I bet the orbiter won't even notice it.
Roger. Would you recommend leading the turn onto the hack for a right turn to 17?
I think you can do it staying with the guidance if you lead it a little bit, because that wind from 250 at 100 tends to throw you around the corner there.
Roger. (946) Houston, will you be making your next approach to runway 23?
Yes, sir, but we're going to hold up here for a little while.
Roger, copy that. We'll call you next time after Auroral, John, at about 7:51 local.
Okay. We listen. Houston, there are no clouds out as far as we can see, which must be at least 200 miles out to the west.
Copy.
This is Shuttle Control. That was another report from astronaut John Young and the shuttle training aircraft over Northrop Strip. Reporting visibility unlimited. He's flown an approach with a right-hand turn to runway 17. Said believes that's doable. He recommends leading the turn somewhat because of winds, but experienced no particular problems. Moderate turbulence, about 2,000 feet. He'll make a run later on to runway 23, and we'll talk to him again after Auroral LOS. Columbia is 6 minutes away from acquisition through Yargady. At 7 days, 21 hours, 32 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control. It's 7 days, 21 hours, 36 minutes mission elapsed time. Shuttle approaching acquisition through Yargady.
Columbia, Houston through Yargady for 6 minutes, over.
Okay, we're hearing you loud and clear through Yargady. How's the rate down here?
Got you 5 by, Jack.
Okay, we're back in a top sun attitude a little bit early. I know you won't mind, so we can get on with the dips transition.
Okay, a good copy, and sometime over Yargady, or we have a little bit of auroral here, we might discuss with you the site coverage past the Conus on your last pass, when you have time.
Stand by one, please.
Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds. LOS will pick you up at Auroral Valley in 2 minutes.
This is Shuttle Control. Auroral will pick up Columbia in about a minute and a half.
Columbia, Houston through Auroral Valley for 4 minutes, over.
Okay, loud and clear. And I'll configure AOS.
Roger, copy that. On this pass for you, I have the site coverage explanation past the Conus.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, Gordo, the next Conus pass coming up is the last one with data before the burn, so we do need to do the APU pre-start and the gimbal check over the States. Past the Conus, instead of Ascension, we will go over Dakar with no data. Then we'll have a Botswana pass, and then TIG for the burn will occur over Yargady 2 minutes into that pass. After the burn, we'll have 2 minutes across Auroral Valley again, and there will be no Guam pass. We will go over Hawaii, but you will be in blackout at that time, so we may or may not have comm with you there. So the last comm pass prior to the States on entry we can count on will be Auroral Valley. Over.
Okay, understand that, Steve. And you'll have the runway selection and the turn recommendation at that point, is that correct?
That is correct, and hopefully before that, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
Columbia, Houston, coming up on LOS. A reminder, back on panel A11, we need the cryo tank 4 heaters off. And on panel R11, check the wideband mission power on. Over.
Okay, I have me going through my switch check right now, and I do have all the cryo tank 4 heaters off. And say again, the wideband power on?
Panel R11, wideband mission power to on, ON. We're coming up LOS. We'll pick you up next at Buckhorn in 23 minutes.
Wideband mission power is on.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia out of range at Auroral Valley now. Coming up on the end of orbit 128. Columbia will begin orbit 129, about halfway between Auroral and Buckhorn. Buckhorn acquisition in 22 and a half minutes. It's 1 hour, 22 and a half minutes to the deorbit burn. That's 7 days, 21 hours, 50 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
NASA 946, Houston.
We're coming out of 13 MSL, Houston. We're on a sim run to 2-3, and we'll let you know what we see on the climb out, baby.
Roger, standing by.
Houston 946, over.
Roger, we're ready to copy. Go ahead.
The wind is not strong enough to do. Wind is not strong enough to do the crosswind right now, and I don't think it's. If it goes up, it's not going to be. I think I told you wrong on that leading the right-hand turn in. I think you ought to follow guidance in the shuttle and and play the speed brake to maintain your energy. Maybe leading the speed brake, just like we've talked about. But I think you ought to follow guidance on that right-hand turn, and if you have to, you overshoot and come back. That's my recommendation.
Okay, we copy that. What are the surface winds now that you recorded?
155, 6 knots.
Copy 155 at 6 knots. 946, are you still experiencing that shear level at about 2,000 feet, or is it moving up or down now?
Well, we got slight to moderate turbulence all the way up to 5,000 AGL right now.
Copy.
And that's in the shuttle training airplane. I don't even think the orbiter will notice that.
Copy. 946, on that last run, did you have a readout of the winds at 2,000 and 7,000 and 10,000?
2,000 was 200 at 15, 7,000, 275 at 43, 10,000 was 270 at 50.
Copy that, thank you.
I think that wind is probably going to hang in there somewhere between 5 and 15 knots, and it's just going to be chancy to go for the crosswind. You may get it and you may not. I guess I would tend to recommend going for the autoland. But if it hangs in there at 10 knots, you can get the crosswind.
We copy that.
I don't know how late you want to change that runway.
Houston, White Sands are to ground 2.
Houston, go ahead.
Okay, you're landing.
Roger, you're 5 by also.
This is Shuttle Control. The television picture on the monitors in the news center from a helicopter showing the approach end of runway 17 at Northrop Strip. The convoy deploying is visible now on the monitors, about midway on the picture. The monitor now shows the shuttle training aircraft piloted by astronaut John Young making an approach to runway 17.
NASA 946, Houston.
Just coming up on 7, touchdown to 17. Stand by, baby.
Roger.
On 47, go.
Houston 946, we're standing by.
Roger, we just completed that pass in using the MLS. The MLS works great. We took it down to 100 feet, and I'll give you some numbers here as soon as we get them.
Roger.
Picture on the monitor now shows the convoy with the operations area in the background.
Okay, the airspeed at 3,000 was 284 knots. The touchdown airspeed was slow, 180. The touchdown X distance was 4,480 feet, and the wind was 160 at 10.
We copy that, 160 at 10.
And there's a little turbulence down in that area, but I don't think the orbital will notice it.
All right, John, we copy, and your recommendation remains a right turn to 17, over.
It does. What's the latest time you can change to 2-3 if the winds pick up?
Stand by, John. John, we can do it at auroral, post-burn, or immediately post-blackout.
Okay, we'll just keep watching the surface winds. That'll be the criteria.
Okay, thank you. We're signing off here. We'll try to talk to you after the CONUS pass at 8:32 Houston time.
Yes, sir.
This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 22 hours, 12 minutes mission elapsed time. Standing by for acquisition of Columbia through Buckhorn on orbit 129. Columbia now 1 hour from deorbit.
Columbia, Houston, through the States for 17 minutes, over.
Okay, we're in loud and clear, Steve. How us?
Got you 5 Jack. The BFS is on internal time right now. We would like you to pro it to ops 0, then back to 301 if you would, please.
Okay. Okay, how's that, Steve?
Stand by. Okay, that worked good, Jack. Thank you.
Okay, you might want to load that up for us.
Roger, will do. And Columbia, Houston, at your convenience, we're ready for the APU pre-start, followed by the gimbal check.
Gordo's getting his hat on. How about if I give you the gimbal check and he'll give you the pre-start?
That'll be fine.
Okay, here comes the secondary gimbals at you.
Roger.
Houston, Columbia.
Roger, go ahead, Gordo.
I got my compound on here. I'm ready to open the tank valves if you are.
Roger, we're ready, Gordo. Columbia, Houston, the gimbal check looks good, and you can reload the target's primary and backup, over.
Okay. Okay, we're looking straight down and Northrop. It looks a lot better today than it did yesterday.
And it is a lot better there, Gordo. The APUs look good, and you can secure the tank valves.
Okay, the tank valves are closed. I had 3 gray when they were open.
Roger, thank you.
And it's kind of interesting. The attitude and everything put us absolutely foresighted at 12 o'clock on Northrop.
Gordo, as a result of having proed the BFS to ops 0, you're going to have to reload the mini table again, and we have those item numbers for you if you want.
Okay, I'll get it. I'll take them from you in just a minute, though.
Okay, that's on spec 51 of the BFS.
Okay, go ahead with item 6.
Roger, item 6 plus 17.
Okay.
Item 7 plus 2.
Okay.
Item 8 plus 18.
Say again, you broke up.
Roger, that was item 8 plus 18, over.
Say that one more time.
Gordo, did you copy the item 8 plus 18? Columbia, Houston, how do you read? Columbia, Houston, how do you read? Columbia, Houston through Mila for 9 minutes, over.
Okay, we're hearing you now. We got to reload on the BFS.
Roger, did Gordo copy my last item 8 plus 18 on spec 51, over?
That's a negative, but we looked it up and we got it in there correctly.
Roger.
And take a look at our targeting and our solution to make sure they're okay. Would you please, Steve?
Roger, Jack, we need you to reload the targets and CRT timer, over.
Say again, please?
We need you to reload the targets, over.
And the pass or the BFS?
In both, Jack.
You mean we got to type them all over again?
That's negative, just the item 22 and 23, Jack. And Jack, that's just into the pass. The BFS will DK listen.
Okay.
Roger, we'll take a look. A couple more things. We need you to terminate the interconnect at this point, Jack.
Okay, I was just about to get to that.
And Gordo, as yesterday, your APU for pre-TIG start is number 1 with number 2 as a backup. Over.
Okay, number 2 backup.
Gordo, we're not receiving your biomed. Jax is okay. You might check it, Gordo, if you have a chance.
Oh, I assure you, I'm still here. It's plugged in, and I don't know what the problem is.
Roger.
This is Shuttle Control here in the Control Center. Flight Director Harold Braun is taking a go, no-go status for
the top sun on. Attitude look okay?
Looks good, Jack. I have one thing for Gordo on panel R1. We need the Cryo Tank 3 heaters off, please.
Okay, the tank 3 heaters are off. I don't know where I missed that right in.
And Gordo, we also need a GPC CRT 3.3 execute to get GPC 3 driving CRT 3, over.
Okay, it's in there. And what kind of a turn are you betting on for 2-3 at this point, Steve?
Okay, Jack, first of all, you are go for the deorbit burn, and we talked to the STA just before your CONUS pass, and the winds right now are favoring runway 17 with a right turn. The surface winds last reported were 160 at 10 knots, so we recommend a right turn to runway 17, and if the winds should happen to pick up and swing around as forecast, we may have to switch back to 2-3, and we do not anticipate that at this time.
Okay, we're going to select runway 17 item 4 with right-hand turn.
Okay, that sounds good. Should we have to return to runway 23, the right or left turn is about even on G's in the turn, and the turn angle around the hack is almost the same either way, so it's your call, a right or left turn, should we go back to 2-3.
Okay, if it's either way, in that case, we'll take a left turn to 2-3.
Sounds good, left turn. And Columbia, Houston, check the roll attitude. We think you're about 10 degrees out.
Okay, what way do you want to go?
Roll right.
Okay, we'll go right to right 10 degrees to 155.
Roger.
Let's make it roll the other way to about 185.
And Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds LOS. Next is Dakar in 5.5 minutes, over.
Okay, Steve, we'll see you there.
Roger.
This is Shuttle Control. Bermuda has lost a signal. Columbia heading down toward Dakar now, 4.5 minutes away from acquisition there.
NASA 946, Houston.
The next 3 stations are UHF stations. We'll have no telemetry data at Dakar, Botswana, or Yargati. We're 41 minutes away from deorbit, which will occur 2 minutes into
NASA
the
946, Houston.
Yargati Pass.
46, go.
During this last orbit of
Roger,
the
we've got about
United States,
3 minutes.
Gordon
John, do you have any
Fullerton
update on winds or weather?
Looking straight down on White
Oh, the
Sands,
winds are staying pretty much the
but it
same.
looked much better today.
As near as we can tell, and the surface
Columbia
winds,
has
we
to
haven't
go
any
for
reports on them
deorbit.
changing.
With the right turn to
With
runway
17,
17.
they were running about 7 or 8 knots there for a long time. And then we had a report of a gust to 26, so I think we probably ought to stay with 17, because the 26 knot gust was out of the south.
All right, we copy that, and we did recommend to them a right turn to 17, so that's what they're planning on.
Okay.
946 Houston, we'll sign off now. We'll pick you up after the Dakar pass at 8:44 local.
46 long.
This is Shuttle Control. It's 7 days, 22 hours, 35 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia is about 30 seconds away from acquisition through Dakar. We'll stand by.
Columbia, Houston through Dakar for 6 minutes, over.
Okay, hearing you loud and clear through the car. How me, Steve?
Got you loud and clear, Jack.
Okay, we're getting suited up here, getting our hats on, it is, and looks like we're right in the timeline.
That sounds great. And when you have some free moments, we'll talk a little bit more about the winds and the weather at Northrop.
Okay, go ahead with the winds and the weather at Northrop.
We believe the winds aloft are about the same as we gave you on the pad. If there are any updates, I'll get those to you a little later. The surface winds are remaining out of the south. I believe I read to you earlier 160 at 10. They did have one gust to 26 knots, but it was out of the south, and they're prevailing at 7 to 10 knots. John has flown some passes with a right turn to 17, and his recommendation is that you follow guidance. The tailwind may tend to overshoot you slightly on final, but guidance will get you back just fine. However, he does recommend leading the speed brake per the message at 0.95, getting it to manual and matching auto's command, then at 0.9 Mach, get it to 100%. Over.
Okay, I remember that, and I'll do it. And if you see me do it differently, you let me know.
Okay.
This is Shuttle Control. On the monitor in the news center is the operations area at Northrop Strip with the stiff leg derrick in the background.
And Steve, how's the MLS working today?
MLS is checked out and working fine, Jack.
Okay, we'll stand by for your go to auto with 17 remains the selection.
That's affirm, and all the other nav aids are looking good, too.
Okay, that's real good news. Thank you.
Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds LOS. Next is Botswana in 11 minutes.
Okay, see you at Botswana.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia is out of range at Dakar. Passing down over Africa. Next acquisition through Botswana in 10 minutes. Jack Lousma reporting the crew is right on the timeline, counting down to deorbit in 29.5 minutes. We updated the weather at Northrop for them on this pass. He inquired about the microwave landing system that enables the auto land capability. John Young reported that working great on his approach to runway 17.
NASA 946 Houston.
At 7 days, 22 hours, 44 minutes mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control.
Roger, we're between Dakar and Botswana now and got about 8 minutes.
Roger.
This is Shuttle Control. The monitors in the new center.
Okay, the winds right now are
displaying the
205
convoy
knots, so our call is still good.
Copy that. Thank you. NASA 946 Houston, we're signing off. We'll be back with you at 8:58.
46.
This is Shuttle Control. It's 7 days, 22 hours, 53 minutes mission elapsed time. Botswana will acquire Columbia in 30 seconds.
Columbia, Houston through Botswana for 3.5 minutes. Over.
Okay, here is through Botswana, and we are maneuvering to the burn attitude a little bit early. Hope you don't mind.
Not at all. Gordo, one reminder, if you should get some multiple leak messages on the primary jets, it's probably a false fail indication due to those low fuel injector temps we'd talked about before, and you'd want to reselect those jets. Over. Columbia, Houston, we're 30 seconds LOS now. Next is Yarga D in 14 and a half minutes. Have a good burn.
Roger, we'll see you at Yarga D. We're in the burn. Good.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia heading out over the Indian Ocean now. Yarga D is next in 13 and a half minutes. And we're 15 minutes, 18 seconds away from deorbit. At 7 days, 22 hours, 58 minutes, mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
NASA 946, Houston.
946, go.
Roger, we've got about 11 minutes here. John, any updates?
Wait one. Winds are 150 at 6.5.
Sounds good. NASA 946, Houston, leaving you now. We'll talk to you again at 9:22.
46.
This is Shuttle Control at 7 days, 23 hours, 10 minutes, mission elapsed time. Columbia is 40 seconds away from acquisition through Yarga D. 2 minutes, 26 seconds from deorbit.
Columbia, Houston through Yarga D for 7 minutes, standing by.
Okay, Houston, we're in the burn attitude. We've got the helm engine arm pressed and all is well.
Roger.
One minute to deorbit. 30 seconds.
Ignition, Houston, we got a good burn going.
Roger.
Jack Lousma confirms ignition and a good burn going. Duration of this burn, 2 minutes, 29 seconds.
Nice solid burn so far, Houston.
Roger.
Burn G85. Good burn, Houston. We got cut off. Residuals 0.27, 0.01, 0.07, all minus.
Very good, Jack.
Lousma confirms good burn. Columbia now committed to leave orbit.
And Houston, if you're still there, the APU-1 started up just fine and sitting there and checking along.
We copy. Very good. 1.5 minutes left in this pass, Gordo.
Okay.
In Columbia, the weather at Northrop is excellent. The surface winds are nearly calm at this point. 30 seconds LOS. Next is Auroral in 2 minutes.
Okay, we'll see you at Auroral, Steve.
This is Shuttle Control. Yarga D has loss of signal. Aurora will pick up Columbia in 50 seconds for a 2-minute pass. That's the last time we'll see Columbia until after blackout ends. Columbia now heading toward Northrop Strip at White Sands, New Mexico. Touchdown 46 minutes from now.
Columbia, Houston through Auroral Valley for 2 minutes. Configure AOS.
Okay, we got drive clear.
Roger. Columbia, Houston, you are go for maneuvers. A reminder to close the vent doors and remain configured AOS through the entry. Over.
Roger, go for maneuvers and close the vent doors. AOS to the entry.
That's affirmed. We're 30 seconds LOS. We may pick you up a little bit in 15 minutes at Hawaii. If not, we'll see you in 23 minutes over the States.
Roger.
Have a good one.
This is Shuttle Control. Auroral has loss of signal. We expect the Columbia to be in blackout at Hawaii in about 16 minutes, but we'll come up then and see whether we do get any communications. Columbia is 12 and a half minutes away from entering the Earth's atmosphere, 42 minutes, 45 seconds from touchdown. All systems and configurations looked good aboard Columbia as it passed out of range at Auroral, and Jack Lousma was given a go for maneuvers. These are the aerodynamic maneuvers he will perform at varying Mach numbers during the entry to gather information on the aerodynamic response of the orbiter. These will be commanded by both the use of the stick by the commander and also by using the computer keyboard. At 7 days, 23 hours, 23 minutes, mission elapsed time. This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
NASA 946, Houston.
946, go.
Okay, we're back with you with about 13 minutes or so. Any updates?
Roger, we just made our last pass at the MLS. The MLS is working good. The TACAN has been working good. The whole period was nominal. Our equivalent airspeed at touchdown was 195, and we touched the exit distance was 3590, and airspeed at 3000 was 286. The speed brakes retract at 2,500 feet with the winds that we have today.
Okay, that's good. Surface winds, please.
150 at 10 is what they told us.
We copy that, and Columbia had a good burn.
Terrific.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia's ground track on this reentry crosses the coast of Baja California, Mexico, about 50 miles south of Ensenada. Goes northeast across Mexico, entering Arizona about halfway between Yuma and Lukeville.
Houston 946.
Between
Go ahead.
Phoenix
Ground is
and
reported some gusts of
Tucson.
20 knots out of 135.
Crosses,
You maybe get to auto land the
right
crosswind
at
on the same
Casa Grande.
runway.
South
Okay,
of,
appreciate you keeping us
Superior,
updated there.
Arizona turns to a heading slightly more to the east, passing north of Clifton, Arizona. And then passing into New Mexico north of Silver City, and coming across Truth or Consequences just prior to getting into the terminal area for the landing at White Sands. We're 8.5 minutes from entry interface. The touchdown clock is counting at 38 minutes, 44 seconds. We'll come back up in about 11 minutes and see whether we will get communications through Hawaii. This is Shuttle Control.
Houston 946, over.
Go ahead.
Roger, we have some high scattered cirrus that's starting to move in on us, but I think they'll still be able to see the lake bed from like about 390.
Okay, copy. High scattered cirrus.
Visibility is down to about 80 miles.
Okay.
This is Shuttle Control. Columbia entering the Earth's atmosphere now. 30 minutes, 15 seconds from touchdown.
NASA 946 Houston.
46, go.
We're about 3 minutes from a possible AOS at Hawaii. Any updates?
Yes, sir, I think everything is good here.
Okay, we assume you're going to be clearing the area 20 to 25 minutes before touchdown, which would be 5 to 10 minutes from now.
Okay, we're already holding up north.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I mean up northeast.
Roger.
This is Shuttle Control. It's 7 days, 23 hours, 37 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia, approaching the range of the Hawaii tracking station. We're doubtful we're going to have communications through there, but we'll stand by.
Columbia, Houston through Hawaii.
We're processing data through Hawaii.
Columbia, Houston through Hawaii, over.
Okay, we're hearing you through Hawaii. We got a QR 2.7 and we're commencing entry. All is well.
Sounds good.
Spacecraft now. Just as soon as we started picking up the atmosphere, it started very lightly and now it's brighter and brighter.
Ecom confirms 3 good APUs from the data he saw. We're processing data again after the keyhole in Hawaii. Showing an altitude of 254,000 feet. A velocity of 24,300.
Columbia, Houston, still with you through Hawaii.
Okay, Houston, we got STS jet leaks on help.
Roger, Columbia, those are false leak indications, over. Columbia, Houston, reselect those jets, over.
We've had LOS at Hawaii. Next, AOS, 11 minutes, 21 seconds. We're 24 minutes from touchdown. We have 2 C-band contacts, and we're now 200,000 feet. Mach 17. Range to go 874 miles. We're processing data.
Columbia, Houston through Buckhorn, configure AOS.
Okay, we're reading you loud and clear. We got the PTI so far, and take a look at our ground tracking now, please.
Roger, energy and ground track are good, and nav is great, Jack.
That's good news, Steve. Thank you.
This is Shuttle Control. We had acquisition of signal more than 2 minutes earlier.
This is ATR contact. Go ahead.
More than 2 minutes earlier than the predicted end of blackout. Columbia at 186,000 feet now. Mach 15. Range 677 miles. 14 minutes to touchdown.
This is really a beautiful flying machine, Steve.
It's great to hear, Jack. We show you passing Mach 14 at 179,000 feet.
That's the firm when we got the coast of California in sight. In fact, we're about to go over LA at about Mach 16. Correction, about Mach 13. I think we're booming right over the Commander-in-Chief's ranch right now, Steve.
Roger, energy and ground track are nominal.
We show them
Chase,
crossing the
Houston,
coastline
stand
now.
by for a mark at 12. Stand by. Mark, 12,000 feet per second.
Altitude 167,000 feet, range 440 miles. We have AOS at White Sands now. 12 minutes to touchdown. Passing through 162,000 feet, range 410 miles, Mach 10.6. Should be crossing the border into the United States about now at 156,000 feet.
Speed brakes are coming out.
Roger.
350 miles to White Sands. 150,000
Okay,
feet.
Houston, we're going right over Phoenix at Mach 9 and 150,000 feet.
Roger, that checks.
Passing Phoenix. Altitude now 147,000 feet. Mach 8.3, range 290 miles. Still right on ground track, right on energy.
Okay, Steve, we're passing Davis Mountain. I can see it down there, and I got one TACAN out, two TACANs locked.
Roger, stand by.
135,000 feet. Mach 7. Range 230.
TACANs are good on board, 1/10 for ratios.
Roger, Columbia, Houston, take TACAN.
They're taking them.
Columbia has a go for TACANs to help provide range and bearing information. 124,000 feet now. Mach 6.2, range 186 miles. Approaching the state line between Arizona and New Mexico now.
Flash your map off.
Roger.
Control looks solid at 112,000 feet, Mach 5, range 146 miles. Columbia is over New Mexico now. Passing north of Silver City. Altitude's 103,000 feet at Mach 4.3, range 112 miles. 7.5 minutes to touchdown.
Looks like TACAN 2 had a momentary hiccup there and sailed out in azimuth. I'll just leave it alone.
Copy that. Passing 97,000 now, positive seats.
Positive seats means the crew could use ejection seats if necessary. They are now below the
Roger,
altitude.
deployed.
Roger.
Out of 90,000 feet at Mach 3, range 74 miles.
Air data looks good on board.
Stand by. Columbia, Houston, take air data.
Columbia taking air data now at 81,000. We have a television picture of Columbia on the monitors. 79,000 feet, Mach 2.5, range 58 miles.
Columbia, Houston, nav, energy, and ground track are all good. Have an update on winds and weather when you're ready.
Go ahead. A little bump at around Mach 2.
Roger, a high scattered cirrus deck over the field. Surface winds 180 at 11, altimeter 3003. Over.
3003 and roger the wind.
$68,000 feet at Mach 1.6, range 40 miles. Columbia has just passed Truth or Consequences, crossed over Interstate Highway 25, heading toward White Sands. 4 minutes, 40 seconds from touchdown. 60,000 feet, Mach 1.4. Everything looking good at Mach 1 at 50,000 feet, range 27 miles.
Columbia Houston, reminder on the speed brake, 100%.
Okay, I got him.
Mach 0.9 and speed brakes going to 100% now. 3.5 minutes from touchdown. 38,000 feet. Range 20 miles.
Columbia Chase is coming aboard at 28.5.
We're reading 33, Dick.
Okay, we're a little lower than you.
$30,000 feet. Everything looking good. Airspeed
Columbia Houston, show you intersecting the hack now, passing 26,000. Looks good.
2.5 minutes to touchdown. 13 miles range. Turning right now into runway 17 at 20,000 feet. Airspeed 295. Range 10 miles.
Columbia Houston winds 190 at 14.
Waiting for you to go.
Out of 15,000 feet.
Two PAPI lines, Houston.
Airspeed
Columbia Houston,
275.
go for auto to inner glide slope.
Go for auto at 12,000 feet.
Okay, we're in auto, Houston.
Columbia now in auto land. Out of 10,000 feet at 288. Body flaps in trail.
A/L flashing.
Roger.
$5,000 feet. Airspeed 280. Range about 3 miles.
Pre-flare, Houston.
Roger.
1,000 feet. Airspeed 292. Still in auto.
100 feet. 50 feet, gear coming.
Here comes the gear.
Gear down. 20. 10, 5, 4, touchdown. Nose gears 10. Nose gears 5, 4, 3, 3. Touchdown. Bienvenidos, amigos.
The mission elapsed time of touchdown, unofficially 8 days, 0 hours, 4 minutes, 49 seconds.
Okay, wheels are staffed, Houston.
Okay, Columbia, welcome home. That was a beautiful job.
Copy.
Unofficial
Columbia,
wheel
Houston, I'll
stop
turn you over to
time,
Brewster now for
8
post-landing.
days, 0 hours, 6 minutes, 10 seconds.
Hello, Convoy 1, this is Columbia. How do you read? Convoy 1, Columbia, read you loud and clear. How many? Welcome home. Area 5 square 2.
Columbia, Houston, we do have some deltas to the post-landing procedures. The first deltas are the RCS ohms safing for the PLT. And Gordo, just let me know when you get to those steps and I'll get to you.
Okay, we're going to take the gloves and helmets off as it said, and I'll be back with you as soon as they get plugged in.
You bet, we'll just be waiting.
This is Shuttle Control. The convoy is approaching Columbia now to begin hooking up cooling lines and purge lines.
Columbia, Houston, we'd like to have ammonia A to secondary on, please.
Hello, Houston. How do you read the PLT?
Read your 5 by Gordo. We'd like to have ammonia A to sec on, and then on C3 the antenna switch to upper left, please.
Okay.
How do you read the CDR, Houston?
Read your 5 by, Jack.
Same here, but
Okay, Brewster, I'm ready to go to work now, I think. Umbilical door opening. Oh, that's RTLS. Ready to go on the RCS zone safing with the deltas.
Okay, Gordo, after landing, the data we're getting from the ohms crossfeed look good to us, and we're going to let the nominal procedures stand. So just go ahead with those. There will be no changes.
Oh, you mean go ahead and operate that last B crossfeed as per the checklist. Is that what you mean?
That's affirmative.
This is Shuttle Control. Crew is continuing to power down and safe Columbia. The ground crew will not be able to approach the orbiter until the RCS and home systems are safe.
They look good to me. I'm going to open the tank isotope.
Roger.
As soon as the convoy commander has confirmation of safing, the crews will move in to hook up purge and cooling lines. And
okay, Houston, the ohms RCS safing is complete.
Copy. Thank you, Jack.
Flight Director Drawn has informed the convoy commander that the OMS and RCS safing is complete.
Okay, the load test complete. The body flaps back to trail.
Copy, looks good.
You go for G9 transition.
Standby 1. Roger, Gordo, you go.
Okay.
And Jack, we have a delta to the hatch opening due to the fact that you're at 4,000 feet. And when you get to the point, let me know and I'll get it to you.
Okay.
This is Shuttle Control. The general purpose computers aboard Columbia have been loaded now with the post-flight software. And the crew will begin repositioning the Space Shuttle main engines.
Jack, we'd like to have ammonia B to sec on, please. We'll leave both of them on.
Okay, ammonia B, sec on, and both of them on.
Thank you, sir.
And the rain drain operation is in progress.
Copy.
The rain drain that Gordon Fullerton refers to is the positioning of the main engines into the full down position. They're going down now. Convoy personnel will begin to set up the hatch opening procedures very shortly now.
Okay, Brewster, I'm ready for a go for shutdown when you're ready.
You are go, Gordo.
Okay.
This is Shuttle Control. All three APUs are shut down now. And hatch opening has begun.
Gordo, no circ pumps are required today.
Okay, I'll leave them on. And APU hydraulic system is shut down.
Copy. Columbia Houston, on panel C3, DFI PCM recorder to high sample, please.
Okay, PCM is high sample, Brewster.
Thank you.
Houston, Columbia.
Go ahead.
We're finished up to page 5, 14, and 15, the ejection seat egress. We can hear him banging on the hatch down there, but Rick hasn't showed up yet, so as soon as he gets on comm, I guess we'll get off.
Okay, sounds good, Gordo.
This is Shuttle Control. The exchange crew and the flight surgeon are going into Columbia, and the crew should be getting off shortly.
Houston, greetings from the Desert Recovery Force.
Read your 5 by.
Sounds good to me, Brewster.
Okay, how about letting us know when those guys are ready to get out?
Will do. Yes, sir, you sure can.
Say again, Don?
Yes, you can.
Don, you folks have a go to complete your procedures.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a minute here.
Roger. And Don, the temps are starting to come up slowly in the vehicle, so the sooner you can get stuff powered down, the better.
Okay, just a minute.
One, two Alphas, 1-3 uniform.
Okay, Brewster, I'm going to start the integrated post-sign-up procedures. The crew is not quite ready to leave yet.
Okay, fine. Let us know when they are, and there's a delta to page 5-17, the DFI wideband autocal and OAX power down. If you do not have those, I'll give them to you.
I've got them already, but I'll check when I get to that.
Sounds good.
I'm ready for the DFI, and understand all we're going to do is power down the wideband mission power switch and turn the OEX power off.
You got it.
Okay, that's been working. DFI is complete. We'll proceed with APU heater deactivation.
Copy.
APU heater deac is complete, and looks like your crew is ready for egress.
Understand the crew is ready for egress.
That's firm.
This is Shuttle Control. We're standing by for crew egress now.
RCS heater power down is complete, and suit fans are off.
Copy.
And in the OSS, we confirm that the payload primary main C is already off on panel R1. And the post-landing procedure is complete.
Hold on one, Don. Check primary main C. We had a problem with the talk back there.
Okay, I'll flip it. Switch has been activated. Talkback still reads off.
Copy. Stand by 1. Don, on R11, can you confirm the wideband mission power is off?
Confirm wideband mission power switch is off in row echo.
Copy. Okay, Don, we agree on 517 you are complete with that procedure.
Okay, and we're going to wait on 518 until I get the coolant hooked up. Is that correct?
Yeah, stand by on that.
Crew is emerging now, led by Commander Jack Lousma, Gordon Fullerton following him. Being greeted by George Abbey, the Director of Flight Operations at the Johnson Space Center.
And Columbia, Houston, you can proceed with the ammonia deact on 518.
Okay, it's work.
Doing a walk-around inspection of Columbia.
And Don, do you have a copy of the S-band post-land troubleshooting procedure?
Yes, sir, we sure do.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready to get into that.
Okay, we got a little bit of work to do before we'll be ready for that. Estimate about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, we'll be standing by. Just give us a call.
Roger. And I'm going to turn the morning controllers off. If that's okay with you, the last step on 518.
Copy.
off.
Don, you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, on page 5-17, middle of the page, APU heater deactivation. We don't see that as being completed.
Let me check.
Okay.
Okay, I rechecked that. How's the luck now, Bristol?
Okay, thanks, Don.
Roger.
Columbia, Houston.
Go ahead.
We're seeing some bad indications of the radiator latching data. We'd like you to check on R13 the talkbacks for the radiator latches, please.
Port 1, port 1 is Barbara pulled the first port 1 in a row there, Bristol.
Copy.
Barbara and reach latch, and the port 1 is Barbara pulled.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Don.
And NCC and OTC, can we get a comm check from the vehicle?
This is OTC on air-to-ground, UHF.
Thank you, OTC. The seat statement is complete, and we're going to start on step 06-101A.
I copy.
This is Shuttle Control here in the control center. The ladder is going up against the wall, preparatory to hanging the STS-3 crew patch. This is a tradition after each mission, signifying the end of a successful mission. And the Mission Control Center in Houston has handed over responsibility for Columbia to the ground crew at Northrop Strip. At 8 days, 51 minutes, 38 seconds. This is Shuttle Control, Houston. This is Shuttle Control, and here in the control center, the ECOM on the entry shift, ENCO on the entry shift. Lee Briscoe has gingerly climbed to the top of the ladder and has now hung the screw patch.
OTC, CDR and air-to-ground.
That's OTC.
Sequence 36A is complete and everything looks okay within limits with the exception of the smoke sensors that we knew were bad. And we're going to go ahead with 101B, page 200.1.
Okay, I copy.
101B is complete, 101C in work.
OTC. OTC PLT, I'm on the flight deck to support sequence 21 if needed.
I copy. We'll go ahead and pick that up.
Step 101C is complete. And OTC and 101 Delta, humidity step A is off and B is on, so that step will be not performed.
I copy. CDR, if you'll stand by, let me run the sequence 21, then we'll get to 31.
Okay, the PLT can run that with you if you want, and I'll go ahead and do 31.
Okay. PLT, OTC.
Go ahead.
Okay, have you checked the first steps on 014 and F6 and F7?
Step 2102 is complete, and I'm moving forward
back
to the
to
rest.
Florida. Right now, that is expected to take between 8 to 9 days for that recovery operation before they are ready to ferry back to the Kennedy Space Center. The convoy equipment has been attached to the rear end of the Orbital Columbia. There are two main trucks which are used. On the left side of the vehicle is a big coolant unit. On the right side of the vehicle is the purge trailer, which runs conditioned air through the many cavities in the vehicle through the payload bay. The coolant also takes the load off of onboard systems. astronauts have now arrived back at the operations area and are leaving the van which has transported them from the landing spot, shaking hands with the many operations people that are here, congratulating them on their successful mission, and we'll be entering the medical facility for a brief medical exam. The team that is here from Kennedy, many of the people are the same ones that would have greeted Columbia at the Dryden Flight Research Center had it landed there. Of course, the decision was made to bring it to the Northrop Strip here in New Mexico. The equipment and the personnel arrived with 2 shipments of trains. The first shipment arriving to support what would have been an abort to orbit, a once around contingency mission. The second group of trains arriving a couple days later with most of the equipment that's actually used to put the Columbia on top of the 747 and for that turnaround operation. Once all of the support equipment has been attached to Columbia, they will bring a tow tractor over and hook it to the nose of the vehicle and actually begin the process of towing the vehicle over to a stiff leg derrick. This stiff leg derrick takes the place of the mate-demate device, which is used both at Kennedy and at the Dryden Flight Research Facility for mating the orbiter atop the 747. This is the same stiff leg derrick that was used out at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, and is portable. It can be carried to any of the contingency sites that the orbiter might have to land in an emergency. The one piece of equipment that is not part of this stiff leg derrick is a very large crane, which was delivered here from Phoenix, Arizona. The workers continue setting Columbia up for bringing back to the operations area. Other experiments that are on board will be removed within probably 27 to 30 hours after the Columbia has been here. We figure it will probably be 2 to 3 hours from the touchdown until the vehicle is over to the stiff leg derrick to begin those activities, getting it ready for the turnaround operation. The 747 carrier aircraft will probably arrive approximately a day to a day and a half before the ferry flight actually begins. This is shuttle control at White Sands. Go ahead. Teams here at the strip are continuing working on Columbia, getting it ready for the tow over to the stiff leg derrick to begin the turnaround operations there. This is shuttle control at White Sands. This is shuttle control at White Sands. Ground team is now in the process of towing the orbiter Columbia over to the stiff leg derrick area. That operation began several minutes ago. At this point, that activity is probably ahead of schedule. It normally takes between 2 and 3 hours before we're ready to tow Columbia over to the either the mate-demate device if we're at Edwards, in this case the stiff leg derrick. That activity was completed in less than 2 hours. So the bringing Columbia over to begin the turnaround operation at this point is going ahead of schedule. At the same time that they are doing the towing operation, the crew here is also involved in some troubleshooting of that S-band transponder that failed during the mission to see if they can bring that transponder back online, and that troubleshooting is proceeding at this time. The winds at this time, the surface winds, are in excess of about 24 knots coming across the towway at this time, which are a little bit higher than they were when Columbia touched down this morning. The winds at that time were in the area of between 7 to 10 knots at a steady pace. So the winds have picked up a little bit. This was something that was expected. The weather people told the operations crew that they could expect the winds to pick up somewhat as we got later into the afternoon, possibly getting up as high as 25 with gusts of 35 as we get later in the afternoon. The vehicle that's used to tow Columbia over to the stiff leg derrick area is pretty much a conventional tractor used in many airports around the country for moving airplanes in and out of hangars. Of course, Columbia has no protection while it is out here at White Sands. There are no hangars that they can put Columbia in. So for that reason, one of the first things that was done after Columbia rolled to a stop and was declared safe for people to start working on was the installation of plugs in the main engines, in the OMS and RCS engines in the forward and aft portions of the vehicle, and any of the exhaust ports, such as where the exhaust from the auxiliary power units, where the water is dumped, those places were plugged up to prevent any type of this gypsum from blowing in any of those orifices. So that work has been done, went pretty much by the book, and the activities here are proceeding very well as Columbia slowly makes its way back to the stiff leg derrick area. It will be approximately an 8-day turnaround, provided that there are no major problems. Success-oriented schedule would have Columbia departing White Sands atop the 747 on the 7th of this month, or actually on the 7th of April. This is shuttle control at White Sands.
Ladies and gentlemen, the astronauts are completing their physicals right now, and we expect they'll be here in about 15 minutes, and we'll start the ceremony at that time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Major General Alan Nord, Commander White Sands Missile Range, and on behalf, not for me at all, on behalf of Colonel Horner, Commander 833rd Air Division and Holloman Air Force Base, and Mr. Rob Tillett, Acting Manager of the NASA White Sands Test Facility, and myself, I ask all of you to help me welcome these astronauts and their wives to White Sands Missile Range. Really, we're pleased to have you here. Great day. Clearly, I need to say a special word for two of the members up here who will not be talking with you today. Gracia Lousma and her 4 children, along with her husband here. And she must have been very busy looking after all 4 of those. And I have a great deal of personal empathy because I have a young family with my wife as well. And Marie Fullerton and their 2 children. We are pleased, as can be, to have them here. And we thank them for their patience and their understanding and all the care and all the home chores that they've been doing while the husbands have been off looking at us from a distance. And I ask you to give a special round of thanks for those wives. How about that? This is a great day for the people of the United States of America. A great day for White Sands Missile Range and a great day for New Mexico. It took 2 days to succeed out here. Nature and the good Lord used yesterday to replenish and rebuild the White Sands National Monument over to the southeast. And they gave us a beautiful morning today for Columbia's landing. Now, I understand that on the President's desk there's a sign that says something to the effect, if you're not really interested in who gets the credit, it's amazing what can be accomplished. That is the kind of spirit that worked here among Holloman, White Sands Test Facility, and the White Sands Missile Range, as well as Fort Bliss and other areas that gave support. All of those people worked together without worrying who got the credit, and that's what helped bring the success of the ground support operation here. And that included my deputy, Colonel Dan Duggan, that worked with all of them. The NASA people that NASA sent us to coordinate and direct this effort couldn't have been finer. And I say my thanks to all those people right now and here. Next, I'm pleased to introduce to you Governor Bruce King, a native of New Mexico, attended New Mexico University, served in the U.S. Army in World War II, and he served in the New Mexico House of Representatives from 1959 to 69, and as its Speaker from 63 to 69. He served as governor of New Mexico 1970 to 1974, and was elected to his present four-year term in 1978. In private life, Governor King is a cattle rancher. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce to you the Honorable Bruce King, Governor of the state of New Mexico.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, General Nord, distinguished guest on the platform. I want to thank each of you for staying here to help me welcome these fine individuals and their families to New Mexico. And let's show our great New Mexico welcome to these wonderful astronauts and their families. We're very proud of you, Jack and Gordon. Appreciate it, and your wives. And I just want you to know, Jack and Gordon, when we had the pleasure of standing here this morning and seeing that beautiful sight, the Columbia come down through the beautiful skies, it was a beautiful, beautiful sight to us to welcome you home in America and to New Mexico. And I hope that it looked as beautiful to you coming, and I'm sure it did. And I do want everyone to notice the great American flag, the New Mexico flag flying right under it. And we're very proud and pleased of the great honor that Jack Lousma and Gordon Fullerton have brought to us in New Mexico. We did have a little bit of a problem yesterday, but we wanted them to be sure and go around a few more times and to see us on such a beautiful day as we had at the time of the landing. So we sure didn't want them to see it like it was yesterday, did we? We only have about 5 days like that a year, 360 like today, but that was one, and we had the beautiful one today, and that's what we're so thankful for. And we do want to welcome all of those fine people that have been involved in every way to our great state. And we particularly want Jack and Gordon and their families to know how proud we are and express our appreciation and be thankful for the very safe, perfect landing that we witnessed this morning. While I'm here, I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the people of New Mexico, the great land of enchantment, to invite these two fine astronauts and their families to come back to where we can make the proper presentations and show them the wonderful things that we have in New Mexico. And thank you very much. God bless you.
Next, I have the honor to introduce Senator Harrison Schmitt. Senator Schmitt is also a native of New Mexico, born in Santa Rita. He received a Bachelor of Science degree from the California Institute of Technology in 1957 and went on to study as a Fulbright Scholar in Oslo the following year. He earned a doctorate in geology from Harvard University in 1964. Senator Schmitt joined NASA the following year with the Apollo program. As the lunar module pilot and geologist of Apollo 17, astronaut Schmitt landed on the moon in 1972. After serving as the NASA Assistant Administrator for Energy Programs, he was elected to the United States Senate in 1976 from the state of New Mexico. He is presently the chairman of the Senate Subcommittee on Science, Technology, and Space. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased and honored to introduce the Honorable Harrison Schmitt, Senator from the state of New Mexico.
It's a great pleasure to be here to welcome our two new friends and their families to the White Sands Space Harbor. Gordon is my old friend of college days, having been in the same class at Caltech. Jack, with Gordon, my newer friend of the days of Apollo. I certainly want to welcome them back to the White Hills of Earth. that I'm sure will be recognized on many, many other occasions by other crews of other spacecraft. Also to the beautiful Tularosa Valley. It's gotten a little bit whiter than it was when they landed, but still one of the most beautiful valleys in New Mexico. And literally to New Mexico, where we have the land where edges meet. I wish I had coined that phrase. It actually was coined by a film produced by the University of New Mexico, but we are clearly a land where edges meet. Edges of culture, of geography, of geology, edges of people. And today, you, Jack and Gordon, have brought us to the edge of space with the arrival of the Columbia at its space harbor. And literally, New Mexico, once again, has become part of the Earth's frontier. We have had a history in this state of being involved with space. The Anasazi Indian people, back before recorded history, developed one of the civilization's most sophisticated early astronomical observatories, solar and lunar observatories in the Chaco Canyon area of New Mexico. Some time after that, Dr. Robert Goddard developed the liquid fuel rocket engines that have fueled so many spacecraft in more modern times over near Roswell. And then more recently, the V2 program of Werner von Braun and the NASA rocket engine development and spacecraft engine development that took place in this beautiful area. What we are seeing is that New Mexicans have the frontier in their blood. We also have science in our bones and technology in our muscle, but most importantly, we have people in our hearts. And today we welcome Jack and Gordon and Marie and Gracia into our hearts as literally citizens of this new frontier that we are developing in New Mexico and for the country and for mankind. I join with the governor in looking forward to that time when we can welcome you here in the state. As I'm sure your wives have shown you, I have asked one of the leading craftswomen of New Mexico to design and to produce a beautiful New Mexico bolo. A bolo tie, which is tradition of this state, and one which I'm sure they remember I wore probably too often when I was with them in Houston. But the bolo tie in the shape of the state of New Mexico, with a Zia symbol of the sun, with turquoise from Tyrone, with the White Sands Hills, and the Columbia's arrow, all setting the stage not only for our past greatness, but for our future greatness as a state. Also today, gang, we've got with us some of the parents of the first Martians. The New Mexico delegation invited the presidents of the student bodies of all the high schools in New Mexico to join with us in watching your landing and in your welcome here this morning. They, and I'm sure they speak for their parents and all New Mexicans when they say welcome to you to the safe harbor that you found here, to the White Sands Space Harbor of our future. Let's give them one more big round of welcome, gang, particularly the young people. Thank you very much.
Next, we have a former Undersecretary of Transportation, a former Executive Vice President of General Dynamics, and now the Administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Mr. James M. Beggs. Please help me welcome Mr. Beggs.
Thank you, General. Thank you, General Nord. We're very pleased and happy that this event came off so well. There is always a bit of travail in these things, but it's something that we do enormously well in this country, because what we did today was the culmination of a team effort. The two astronauts, Jack Lousma and Gordon Fullerton, of course, the thousands of employees and the contractors who support us in NASA, the Army under General Nord's leadership that made this all possible, and I must say the Army again proved they can do the near impossible when asked, and the Air Force over at Holloman under Colonel Horner's direction, who supported us all the way. And we're very pleased and proud of all of them. It made this event possible, and it made it a lot of fun for us. We've proven once again that when we want to do it, we can do splendid things and make them look relatively easy. This. And moreover, we do them in full view of the world, in real time, right in front of the television cameras. And there's not another nation on Earth that can make that statement. I'm very pleased to have these two astronauts back with us, and we welcome both of them back to Mother Earth. We're very happy that Gracia and Marie lent them to us for 8 days, one more day than they expected they would lend them to us. But we're glad to have them back. President Theodore Roosevelt once said, the greatest prize in life is to work at work worth doing, and these two men have earned that prize. Come up and talk to us now.
Thank you. Come on, Ben. Come on, Earl. It's great to be on the ground here at White Sands. This is my first time. I've been about this high off the ground 700 times, but I've never been on the ground here. Being a golfer, I wish I'd brought my sand wedge. I think I could get pretty good out here playing out of sand traps. Yesterday wasn't such a good day. We noticed that too. Gordo said, hey, look out the window just after we got waved off, and there was the White Sands. I think it was anyway. We couldn't see it because it was obliterated with a blizzard of sand. So you made the right choice. Yes, sir. But we think it's remarkable and it's commendable. Our hats are off to you. It's a tribute to you to see how the several elements of a great team have united together here to make this landing spot, to bring all of the forces, all of the coordination, all of the equipment required to make this happen in a very short time. So our hats are off to you. We're glad to be here, and it's been a great flight. I was going to say I couldn't tell you it was a good flight, because it was a great, spectacular flight from where we saw it. We had, I think it was 8 days, wasn't it, Gordo? 8 days of just a great time. We can do it. We know we're number one. And I think that's why the American people have united behind the space program and the Columbia the way that they have. And once again, the Columbia has flown our colors around the world. And I think we all as Americans can be proud of that. Gordo and I, are just a part of a small part of a big team. And that team is the NASA organizations across the country and their respective contractor facilities around the country. Also includes our friends and neighbors to the north, the Canadians, who had a great deal to do with the success of this flight. And so as we take your applause and accept the accolades, we do it not for ourselves, but we do it for all those people who have contributed to this effort, to this great team effort, and these people spread across the country, up into Canada, and around the world. And so we want to just emphasize the fact that this is a team effort, and we're just proud and lucky to be a part of it, and proud as Americans that we can live in a land of opportunity where these things can be done. I have a family team here too. My children are out here, Tim and Matt and Mary, and little Joe, he's only 1 year old, so he didn't make it here today. But I think he's watching back home on television, and my wife. We've always had a team family effort. We believe in family unity. And when the old boy is off doing his thing, and if I'm not around the house physically, well, I'm often gone mentally too, and working on this kind of a project. And they take over for me and smooth the way and make everything work. And my wife, we've been married almost 26 years now. Actually, she looks a lot younger than that. But she didn't sign up for this kind of life many years ago and has sort of gradually worked into it. And she's really been a good sport about it, very supportive and helpful all the way. And I appreciate that totally and very, very much. So we're thankful to God for a safe and successful flight. We're thankful to America for this opportunity. We're thankful to Americans and people around the world who prayed for a safe and successful flight for us and who wish us their best wishes. And those all went a long ways, I think, toward making a successful flight. I've always told people that a few prayers and some good wishes will make up for a lot of training that you missed. And now I want to give Gordon a few minutes to talk Gordo's and I have worked together for a long time on this flight. He is a hard worker, and he really knows how to buckle down. Besides that, he's good. And that's the kind of guy that a guy like me has to have along with him. And I did it. I had him along, and he really did a super job. And Gordo is a superb test pilot. He's one of the finest Air Force officers I know. He's a fine engineer, and more than that, he's my friend. Gordo?
Well, I want to thank you all for making this unbelievable welcome for us here. Actually, my job this morning was to drop the landing gear. Jack's job was to land the airplane and make the speeches. So I'm going to make this short because Jack said it better than I ever could. I just want to second everything he said about how the Columbia flew. I hope that you'll all consider the Columbia your spacecraft, that all Americans will consider it their personal spacecraft. And you can take it from us, it's an unbelievably beautiful flying machine. We had scarcely anything go wrong. It was just a matter of getting it into orbit and sitting there for some 8 days and enjoying the view and doing the few checklists that came along when the time came up. And everything fell into place better than my wildest dreams had imagined. I have made one landing here before. It was back in about 1965 in a B-47 on this same landing strip. So it's been a while, but it looked just as good today, or a lot better today actually than it did then. And I'm sure many crews in the future will have that same view coming down final and roll to a stop here at Northrop. For my number one commander of my support crew, Marie, and myself, I want to thank you again for your kind attention and great support, for all the workers here that helped get the place ready for us, and for everyone and that did so much more than either of us did to make the flight of STS-3 a success. You have our heartfelt thanks. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's one omission that needs correction. You've been told that astronaut Fullerton is from the United States Air Force. I think it's important to observe that astronaut Lousma is a colonel in the United States Marine Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, we have two new American pioneers who have achieved great success in the frontiers of research in space. Pioneer spirit has sparked our success as a nation in the past. Astronauts Lousma and Fullerton are a national inspiration. We swell with pride and patriotism at their achievements. Thank you for your patience and for staying. God bless America.
Shuttle control, White Sands. As the crew prepares to leave to go back to Houston, the orbiter Columbia is now directly under stiff leg derrick out near the operations center. Work on Columbia to turn it around to get it prepared for the ferry flight back to Florida. Things going very, very well. Jim Harrington, the ground operations manager here, congratulated the convoy on doing an outstanding job getting Columbia ready and bringing it back to the stiff leg derrick. We'll begin now about 8 days of preparations with the 747 due in probably a day before the ferry flight, now scheduled for April 7th. It'll be a 2-day stop between here and Florida with arrival back at Kennedy Space Center if everything goes well on the 9th of April. So at this point, everything continuing to go well. The experiments are offloaded off the vehicle. We have finished troubleshooting on that S-band transponder and have got it back working normally. So everything here going well. This is Shuttle Control, White Sands.
Okay, we're ready with our belated start of the post-flight news conference. Let me introduce the three gentlemen that we have here. To my immediate right is Mr. Bob Kennedy, who's the OSS-1 program manager. In the center is Mr. Glenn Lunny, who's the manager of the Space Shuttle Program Office. And to my far right is Mr. Harold Drawn, who is a landing flight director. We'll open this with a short statement from Mr. Lunny and then follow with the two other participants.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've just completed the STS-3 mission. You heard the astronauts talk about their flight briefly here today. All of us are pleased and proud with the performance of the equipment that we flew, the Columbia spaceship, and the other elements, the tank and the rockets that we dropped back at the early part of this mission. We're proud of the way the crew carried off this flight. We're proud of the teams that did the work that they had to do both to get it off at Cape Kennedy and to fly it as we've done out of the control center here. I'd like to take special note of the effort that people put into really moving the landing site. That was a difficult thing to do, that is move all that equipment and set up in an area where rather minimal arrangements had been made ahead of time. However, the team has pulled that off, and the orbiter, even in perhaps some trying wind conditions out there, will probably be on its way back to Cape Kennedy by late next week sometime. In our view, STS-3 was a very powerful success in itself. Indeed, in addition to that, we see STS-3 as one of another in a series of flights designed to bring the space shuttle system into operation and to begin the operational flights that we'll start flying later on this year. So in all respects, we feel very pleased, we're very proud and of the flight, of the accomplishments of the people involved in the flight, and we think it's a good indicator of the upcoming flights that we have this year and in years to come. Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy?
Well, I think I'd like to thank everyone that has been involved in this flight in support of our payload. The OSS-1 payload got all of the scientific data they had anticipated on getting and even more. The extended day that we had afforded us a very unusual opportunity to get some solar flare data. We were able to acquire an X class of solar flare with the cooperation of the flight crew, which was a very, very unusual event, and the principal investigator, Bob Novick, is extremely pleased. The cooperation of the flight crew, the cooperation of the ground crew has enabled us to do the nominal mission we had planned and even exceed that. The purpose of the mission was primarily to evaluate the ability to do science from the shuttle. I think we have taken the necessary measurements to make determinations on that factor. And in ensuing several months, we will be doing that as we analyze the data. The scientific return alone from this mission is going to be invaluable to us, in addition to the environmental data. The environmental data will help us to design future investigations that we have on the drawing board to more accurately operate within the shuttle environment. The shuttle is proven by this mission to be a platform from which we can do meaningful and good scientific and interactive measurements as demonstrated by the PDP and the VCAP experiment. I think we'd like to thank everyone for the cooperation, particularly the JSC and the KSC folks and the tracking people. One of the scientists was telling me when we were celebrating the success of the mission, he says, you know, doing science in space is something like you're having a baby. He says, except it's a little more difficult. You spend about 4 years in labor building what you want, and then suddenly in 7 days you go through and you see the results of it. And the results they're very pleased with. And I think I'd like to give a cigar to Glenn in celebration of this wonderful baby that we've had. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, Mr. Droy?
Okay, well, we had just a textbook entry today. The
the only anomaly we had, and it was one of just about no consequence at all, was one of the 3 tack ends had a little problem with one of the bearing measurements that comes out of that particular navigation instrument. We got the crew up on time this morning, went through a shorter entry prep than we normally do. We deleted a couple of activities that are usually in the entry preparation, but since we had just done it yesterday, we deleted the FCS checkout portion, and we deleted the measurements with a theodolite we usually make on the payload bay doors, but since they had been in a very benign thermal attitude, there was no need to repeat that. The whole thing was very smooth, and it really wasn't a case of doing it till you get it right. We did it right yesterday too, but Mother Nature just wasn't on our side. The contingency plans that we always make in undertakings like this paid off for us. We had a couple of 3 places that we could easily have landed, and we had contingency consumables on board the vehicle to allow us to extend the mission, and we could have in fact gone another couple of days had we really needed to do that. So all in all, it was a beautiful flight. The entry in particular was textbook in every respect, and we enjoyed it very much.
Okay, we're ready to take questions now from Houston. Please raise your hand, wait for the mic, and identify yourself if I don't identify you. Jules Bergman, ABC News.
Jules Bergman, ABC News, for Glenn Lunny. Glenn, does this really bring the shuttle to the brink of operational status? And will you land Flight 5 at the Cape, even if Flight 4 fails to get crosswinds?
Jules, truly operational begins to be a matter of degree. I think that we will be very comfortable with our understanding of the spacecraft and very comfortable with our understanding of how we people are going to operate it after this flight, and certainly with the results of STS-4 under our belt. So I feel kind of comfortable that we will be moving into what we can call operational flights by Flight 5, and that we'll be flying payloads, paying customers, and that we'll begin to find ways to trim down and to bring this thing into a more routine basis, setting our schedules, meeting them, etc. We've had pretty good luck on meeting the schedules, STS-2 and STS-3 now, and we're looking forward to doing that for the rest of the year on Flights 4 and Flight 5. With respect to landing, we have wanted to get a crosswind before we went to Cape Kennedy. However, the plan now has us planning to land at Cape Kennedy for that first operational flight this fall. And I think what we do will depend on the results of looking at this landing that we just accomplished, and I don't really have any facts on it yet, other than it was completely successful, but no idea of what we might have done in terms of the aim point and how close we were to it. We have another flight to go. I think if all that goes well, we'll probably be reasonably comfortable to go to the Cape, and depending on the results of this and STS-4, we'd probably be willing to land in some amount of crosswind at the Cape if we had to. The other thing I'd say about that is, although it may be inconvenient for coverage and perhaps inconvenient for personal plans, we'll probably begin to fly the operational flights on a somewhat open-ended basis of perhaps 2 or 3 to 7 days. And our intention would be to just pick the day that we like the weather and the conditions that we have, and have a set of rather flexibly planned activities that we could choose to terminate and take advantage of good weather when we can. So we'll probably be somewhat more open-ended on the end of the mission on the operational missions than we have been on these test flights.
But the spacecraft itself, in flying an 8-day, 4-hour flight, in fact exceeded your normal shuttle flight by more than a day, did it not?
Yes, it did. We feel very good about the spacecraft. Worked very, very well. The things that didn't have been well publicized, and in perspective, they are rather easy to fix at this point. You all know we had a problem with the S-band communications. It turns out that by doing something that we chose not to do during the course of the flight, we restored that communications on the ground at White Sands, and we could have done that in flight had we had any more trouble with the system. So we're very pleased with the performance of the ship. It's well designed, and it's doing very, very well for us on the first couple of flights, and bodes very well for future use.
Gentleman with the Galveston News.
Max Risley, Galveston News, and this just follows right up on what you just answered. My
most of the crew's participation in, you know, repairs of some of these little things that came up had been limited to flipping switches and things. Will future crews be allowed or have any more equipment to do more extensive work, like take out some of the radios and work on the wiring or fix the toilet or something like that?
We have a fairly extensive set of malfunction procedures that you folks are not generally familiar with already. They involve, on occasion, breaking into wire bundles or disconnecting cables and going into particular pins and supplying power from some other source to a particular pin when we know we've had failures. We have other cases where when we have similar hardware on the aft station as there is up in the front cockpit, we can take those units out, those LRUs out as whole boxes and just replace them in toto. We have Joe Engel on the last flight did a in-flight maintenance like that. We have for the cooling system for fan failures, we have built procedures for changing ducting and building ducts on orbit to route airflow where we might want them. So we already have an extensive. I don't foresee any junior electronics with a soldering iron and that kind of stuff going on, but there are pin kits already on board with various length wires with the right kind of clips on the end of them in various lengths already in kits on board, and we would probably do the engineering from the ground and tell them where to break into boxes and where to connect things up. That's already in place.
Irv Kaufman, ABC Radio.
Pharaoh Drawn. As Columbia touched down a few moments later, the nose pitched up and gave you all a start. Was that a gust of wind, or do you have an explanation for that?
I don't have a specific explanation without talking to Jack, but I would guess that it probably was a gust. The wind was predominantly right down the center line of the runway, and that's exactly what the aircraft would have done had it had a gust at that time. So I would surmise that that's probably what happened, but I haven't talked to Jack.
RKO Radio. I'm sorry, Cable News Network.
Pat Dillon, Cable News Network. At what points during the descent did Jack Lousma actually have control of the shuttle?
Well, there are various places that he flies. He flies at the very start of entry when guidance comes on. He flies the very first maneuver, first guidance maneuver when we do your first roll to start your cross-track travel. Soon after that, you give control of it over to the computer and let it do a rather mundane job of flying a particular bank angle up until your cross-track or your heading away from the landing field gets to a particular value. And then it rolls. If it's rolling right by 80 degrees, it just reverses it by 80 degrees and flies for a while, and then it does that about 4 times during an entry. Normally, you let the vehicle's computer, the DAP, digital autopilot, do that, and the crew monitors the rates, and if it gets out of whack, they take over and do it. There are times when the guidance logic changes, when it's been trying to fly one kind of equations or one kind of formulation, entry guidance, for instance, and then it's going to go into tame with a terminal area. There's a fairly abrupt or discontinuity between what the vehicle is going to do. We generally, rather than let the system do that on its own, when you're not exactly looking at it, we take over ahead of time and manually fly it through those regions. We take over again if we're going to drastically update the state vector or the vehicle's knowledge of its own position and velocities, again because a transient, a very short period transient would occur in the control, and it would surprise you if you were in the cockpit of any aircraft and somebody did that to it. And of course he handled the roll when you're coming onto the heading alignment circle. He does that, and he handled the terminal landing, from 100 feet down, and roll out.
Paul Rayburn, Associated Press.
Why did the autoland remain on until 100 feet rather than the nominal 200 feet, and how did that affect the landing?
200 was not a nominal. It was a ballpark number, 200 feet. You want to let the thing get in a stable flight condition on the inner glide slope after the final flare. And after it had done that, then you wanted to take over the aircraft while it was in fairly stable flight rather than grabbing it when it was during the pre-flare maneuver. That would not be a wise thing to do. So that was really why, and it's really up to, as long as it's doing what it was supposed to do, and Jack was happy with the course of events. He could have taken over anytime he felt comfortable, and the only real direction was that he wasn't supposed to let it touch down in auto.
Harry Kingberg, CBS News.
For Harold, do you have any data yet on the rollout? And I didn't hear the chase plane call gear down as it did on the previous missions. Did I just miss that, or did it not happen? And finally, did the gear seem to come down a little bit later than what we've been accustomed to?
I don't have any data on it either. I don't remember hearing the gear down call, but I was listening to the loops in the control center. The gear looked like it came down at about the right place. It's normally down. The spec number is about 7 seconds prior to touchdown, and that's about what it was.
Gentleman here on the first row.
Peter Larson, Orlando Sentinel Star. A question for Mr. Lenny. Is there any likelihood at all of that we might see a Florida landing on the next shuttle mission?
I don't think it's too likely. However, we could find ourselves in the circumstances that we had here during this flight, where for some reason the lake bed in Edwards was unusable and Northrop Strip was questionable, in which case we would go to the Cape. So that depends on the weather primarily.
RKO Radio.
John Bisney, RKO. I don't know whether to address this to Mr. Kennedy or Mr. Lenny. I'm curious what the future is for a large pallet-sized experiments package like this, with that payload bay pretty well booked up. Is this sort of the beginning and the end of that kind of automatic large-scale scientific packages?
No, I think I'll try that one. We do have them in the planning and also being developed right now. Space Lab 1 is coming up next year, in fact, and that will fill the entire bay with the European Space Agency module plus a pallet. Roughly 42 experiments are going to be on that. The Space Lab 2 follows on that with a full cargo bay of instruments, and that will be another phenomenal mission. And those two flights are dedicated to that. That Space Lab 2 will be in 84. And there are many others.
Agency French Press.
Lucien, I am Agence France Presse. I guess this question is for Mr. Drawn. Why did you not elect to try a crosswind landing today in view of the fact that the winds were not too high at White Sands? I mean, could you have used 23 had you wanted to test it?
Yes, we could have. The criteria that we had agreed upon pre-flight to get a crosswind landing was that we would have wanted a crosswind component, a perpendicular crosswind component, between 10 and 15 knots. The component, when we selected the runway, was at, I believe, at 8 knots. One less than 10 knots, we believe, wouldn't excite the vehicle enough to give us any meaningful test data, and we just prudence, we didn't want to check one any larger than 15.
Channel 2.
Susan Starnes, KPRC here in Houston. Can you tell us once again what will be done to evaluate the tiles and why they fell off?
I can't tell you right now why they fell off. That's under investigation. What we'll do is look over both the bird itself, now that we have it back, and probably examine some tiles in the area of the ones that fell off to see if there's any damage or condition that might suggest the reason for the ones that are gone. The other thing we are doing and have been doing is looking through all the records of repair and other kind of work that would be conducted in those areas. We don't have anything conclusive yet, but I think the investigation of the paperwork, that is the previous work that's been done in those areas, and the investigation and examination of the ship when we get it back, will lead us to a conclusion. I should point out that especially in the area of the white tiles on the nose, are what is called undensified. That just means that you can make them a little stronger by putting a certain amount of goop on the back of them before you tie them down, before you glue them to the surface. And those tiles did not have that technique of application. That technique was invented rather later in the program and applied to the critical tiles on the bottom that we had to be much more sure of. Our bird, for example, the second orbiter that's being built, Challenger 099, has all of the tiles densified. That is, this added strength to them in terms of the bond when it's glued to the surface of the ship. So we feel what we'll do is just accelerate our plans that we already had in place to densify those tiles, and we'll go ahead and densify those and any other tiles in the area that could be exposed to any kind of a hot air stream, and just take the time and do that and satisfy ourselves that we have doubled the strength of the tiles, which we will do that process, and to try to find out what event occurred or what environment occurred that caused these tiles and the tiles in the back end to be obviously weakened to the point where they fell off.
Paul Reeser, Associated Press.
Glenn, have you got any quick look reports on the condition of the spacecraft? Did you lose more than the 37 tiles? The
No,
condition is pretty well,
there was a brief recall before I left the control center, Paul. There were no additional tiles found missing. There were various chips and pieces of tile damage that we have experienced on previous flights. Actually, the man who inspected the vehicle, our expert in that area, Bob Dotz here from the center, said that he thought the ship looked beautiful. There were a number of nicks and damage on the underside of the vehicle. There were some up in the nose area of the vehicle, he said, but they were rather small and not of any real concern to him, and he's seen all this kind of damage. There did appear to be something on the front nose landing gear door that appeared to be a chip of the coating, and we, again, that's another one of those things that's in the area of some kind of debris damage, perhaps. But all in all, the ship looks as good as and probably better than STS-2. On STS-2, we did take some body flap damage on the underside, on the bottom side of the body flap. Bob reported that there wasn't any real damage of that type on this flight, and that indicates that some of the cleanup that we did on the pad perhaps helped us avoid that kind of damage. So in a word, it's probably better than it was on STS-2.
Okay, we're going to take two more questions from Houston and then switch to the Kennedy Space Center for questions. Mr. Van, Chicago Tribune.
For Mr. Kennedy, could you clarify the solar flare comment that you made? Did you get an X-class flare yesterday because it was up an extra day? Is that correct?
Mr. Van, last night around 12 o'clock, NOAA, who monitors the solar activity out of Boulder, Colorado, warned us here at the JSC Operations Center that there was a flare coming up. And we were able to turn on the X-ray polarimeter and detect an X2, I understand, flare, which was extremely unusual. It demonstrated the versatility and the coordination of the crew, the ground stations, and the whole system, which illustrates this vehicle as being a very powerful tool, even for those type of investigations that are highly probabilistic. Okay.
This gentleman.
James Wilkinson, BBC. Could you very briefly outline the main development tests you've still got to do on the next flight?
I'll try it. We have a number of a continuation of the characterizing of the thermal characteristics of the ship. We will be doing some amount of attitude maneuvering in the next 7-day flight on STS floor in order to continue that process. So the broad outline of the flight will be characterized by that kind of activity. We have, in addition to that, further RMS test. We're also going to refly the IECM, the Induced Environmental Contamination Monitoring package that we had on this flight. We're going to fly that. We'll continue the process of upping the dynamic pressure during the ascent phase that we have been doing, and running some structural test deliberate inputs during the ascent phase to test the response of the ship. And we will continue the process of running a special test during entry, where we put in small control motions to see how they damp out during the course of the entry. We have a couple of payload activities, but they're not directly related to the development of the flight test activities. And I suppose that gets them. That ought to capture most of what we'll be doing during the next flight.
Okay, we're going to switch to the Kennedy Space Center now for questions, and we'll come back to Houston following that for a final few questions.
Right here in the front. 3 quick ones for Hal Drawn. What was the length of the ground wall?
I don't have any numbers yet. either on miss distance or touchdown point or on total rollout. It looked like he used a fair amount of the runway, but I really don't have any details on that yet.
To estimate the effectiveness of the brakes.
There were not scheduled to be any significant brake tests. There was supposed to be just moderate braking on this particular flight, and with a runway as long as the one we had here, that certainly was not a concern. There was a directional control where we used nose wheel steering to slightly change the course of the vehicle during rollout. That was done, and there was some moderate braking, but trying for a minimum stopping distance or anything of that nature was not an objective, and I really don't know how long he took.
Finally, back to a previous query. After the main gear was down, which seemed to go very smoothly, as the nose gear proceeded down and the sudden pitch up, could this have been because Jack was hot over the numbers, or did he have a little extra energy? What?
That's one possible scenario, or a more likely one is that there was probably a gust that just picked him up as he was going through the derotation. The normal landing sequence is to put the mains on the ground and then fly in a fair pitch up attitude down to a particular speed, and then derotate it at a rather precise rate and kill that rate just before the nose wheel makes contact. It looked like the upset happened while the nose was still dropping. Until we talked to the pilot, it would just be conjecture to try to figure out why that was. The prevailing wind was directly up the runway, and most likely it was just a gust.
Yes.
Gary Balanoff, WDBO. I'm not sure exactly who would be best equipped to answer this, but what were would the conditions at Kennedy Space Center have been acceptable for landing if you needed to land there?
Yes, they would have been fine.
If that's the case, then the people here say that they could have saved 8 days of time, and seeing as how you didn't get a crosswind landing anyway that you wanted to get, why was the decision made not to come back here?
Well, we tried to explain that a number of times. Let me say it this way. When we laid out the flight test program for the orbiter, we recognized that in the first place, we engineers who think we know everything about things really don't all the time. For example, during ALT, the approach and landing test out at the desert, we had 4 pretty good drops, and on the 5th drop, we ran into something that we didn't expect. We called it pilot-induced oscillation, and we had a kind of a wobbling as we brought the ship in for the landing. In light of that, and in light of the fact that we understand that we don't really know all that we would like to know going into this from the wind tunnel data and from the model test that we're able to do, we deliberately planned the OFT sequence, that is the flight sequence, in a conservative fashion. By that I mean we made provisions at the 2 nice, let me call them lake bed regions, certainly the lake bed at Edwards and the White Sands area, where we had very long runways, which, because of that fact, are very forgiving. We took advantage of that and planned to do the OFT sequence, that is the flight test sequence, when we were really learning what it would be like to bring this ship back from orbit with a crew that had been in orbit for some time too, by the way, I might add. We just laid out a conservative course of action, selected those long runways at both Edwards and Northrop Strip as our primary landings, and said to ourselves that we'd like to get landings in those kind of conditions about 4 times before we went to Cape Kennedy. The truth of the matter is we could have met landing conditions at Cape Kennedy on any flight, starting with the first, and theoretically we could have gone there. However, we chose to take what we thought to be, and still believe to be, the conservative course and the prudent course in learning how to fly this machine, getting our astronauts comfortable with it, and protecting the country's investment in this first of 4 orbiters. And that's why we did it, and the decision that we made to go to Northrop Strip on this last flight was consistent with that philosophy, and I still believe that that is the correct approach to the flight test series.
On this nose upward rotation, Have you seen anything like this on any previous landing of the shuttle or landing test? And assuming that this was in some way due to a gust, was this the most demanding from the point of view of gustiness or changeable winds that the shuttle has encountered so far?
No, it's not the most demanding. The most demanding one would be if you were to get a gust that were 90 degrees or perpendicular to your line of flight, because it tends to make you leave the runway rather than just pitch you up or decelerate you. There has been one other occasion that Glenn alluded to just now on one of the ALT drop flights. I think it was the 5th flight, where there was an interaction between the pilot and the vehicle where his hand controller inputs got in phase with some of the body sensors and caused the vehicle to get into a pitch oscillation. We have since changed some of the logic in the software to compensate for that.
Reg Sarnell, BBC. We've always been told that the shuttle was confined by consumables to 7-day missions, but now it's clear it can go a lot longer than that. Are you likely to be arranging perhaps 10-day missions in the next year or two as a result of this experience?
Well, we nominally plan no more than 7 days with the consumables. In most cases, when we quote that number, we are also allowing a certain amount of power for the payload operations. In this particular flight, we did not use that much power on the part of the payloads that were in the bay, and on the last day of the flight, we were able to stretch out some of the usage by recognizing that we had an option to do that and just taking some of the things off that we might otherwise have left on. For example, and as that would apply to future missions, I think when we're flying the orbiter alone, we probably can fly up to 10 days with it. But when we fly something like Spacelab, that in itself consumes about 50% of the power that the orbiter consumes when you power the Spacelab and the experiments that are in it. So it is likely that the Spacelab missions, which would otherwise be interested in longer durations, will probably be limited to about 7 days in terms of what we'll be able to do for them.
Rob Say at Channel 2. Well, when was the decision actually made this morning that you'd land at Northrop Strip as opposed to Kennedy? That is to say, how long before landing was the question of runway actually an open question?
The intended runway was selected yesterday. The target or the preferred runway was selected yesterday within 2 hours after we, certainly within 3 hours after we waved off from the attempt there. The strategy was to attempt a landing at Northrop on the rev that we had picked, and then have an option to land there one rev later. And if we had bad weather on both of those occasions, then to look at the next days, or what would be tomorrow's weather at Northrop or at KSC today. And all those options were open to us. It happened in making all those assessments that Northrop was open, and just by virtue of getting there earlier in the day before the winds pick up, we didn't have to exercise the other options.
We'll take one more question. Howard Benedict.
Yeah, Howard Benedict, AP, for Glenn Lunny. Looking ahead to the next flight, have you set a date for that flight yet? And on that flight, you're going to be carrying a DOD payload. How much you're going to be able to tell us about it, or is it going to be a totally secret payload?
With respect to the date, we will have to look at what we have to do to the ship now that we've gotten it back, and to, for example, to take a look at what we have to do about the tiles. However, it is possible, still possible, that we can hit the range of schedule that we were shooting for, which was the end of June, the last week in June, and we're still going to try to make that. With respect to the DOD payload, I will tell you that we're flying one, and other than that, I'm not going to say anything about it, as per our agreement with the Air Force and the Department of Defense on that subject. And we're going to say that on each one of theirs that we fly, by the way.
That's all from Kennedy. Thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to Houston for questions. This gentleman on row 3.
Hello, Mike Connor, Reuters. Mr. Lunny, a follow-up question to the payloads, but
on the operational flights, could you give us some idea of what type of loads and what sort of clients you'd be carrying, most especially defense projects?
Well, I could go through them in sequence. Flight 5 will be 2 commercial customers. One SBS, which is an American domestic company. They already have a satellite or 2, I believe, on orbit. Telesat Canada has got a communication satellite also on that first flight, Flight 5. Flight 6 will carry the tracking and data relay satellite, which is it's kind of a hard one to characterize. NASA's involved in it, and Spacecom, Western Union, is involved in it as a communication satellite, and NASA intends to use it and subsequent satellites of its type as a spaceborne network rather than ground station network for communications with satellites. Flight 7 has got 2 more commercial payloads, I believe SBS and Telesat again. We also have a pallet which we are going to put out in free fly that was built by Messerschmitt in Germany. And we have a payload that is built in NASA, materials processing payload. By the way, I left off on Flight 6 that in the middeck we're going to fly the second flight of the continuous flow electrophoresis system. That is the pharmaceutical plant thing that McDonnell Douglas and Johnson & Johnson are working on. Flight 4 will be the first flight of that. Flight 6 will be the second. Flight 8 will be another TDRS and a satellite for the country of India. Flight 9 will be Space Lab 1. Flight 10 will be a DOD mission. Flight 11 may or may not be a retrieval of the Solar Max mission, depending on what the Congress does about that mission. Or otherwise will probably be a launch of a couple of more communication satellites. And it goes on like that the following year.
Bob Cowan, Christian South.
Mr. Lunny, what's the prospect for moving up the sixth flight, the Challenger flight, into this year?
We have looked at that for some time and continue to look at it. Just from the point of view of the orbiter itself, the orbiter well supports the flight in January and indeed could be moved up more than that. However, we have to take into account the work at the Cape on Flight 5 with the present orbiter, Columbia, that will be there doing that flight. And we have to take into account the fact that this will be the first flight of a lightweight tank, which has got a schedule of about the 3rd week of September that we can't do too much with because it's a new design of the external tank. So the flight could be, even with that, could be brought to and could occur perhaps in the month of December. However, in discussions with the people who will also fly in the cargo bay on that flight, that is the TDRS spacecraft and the IUS rocket stage, they still would like, I believe, to launch in the month of January. So probably from an overall systems point of view, we'll probably end up deciding to leave that flight in January, although we have not concluded that discussion yet. But I would expect it to come out that way.
Hey, the Galveston.
Yeah, when the Columbia was passing over Hawaii on the re-entry and they were able to communicate with it, well, first off, I want to know how they were able to communicate with it through the blackout, and secondly, Lousma said, you know, coming through the atmosphere, and he said it's getting whiter and whiter. Are we to understand he was describing the actual glow of the re-entry?
Well, predicting exactly where blackout, and that's what you're talking about, where it starts and where it stops it's not a big cliff that you all of a sudden fall off of. We thought that perhaps we might be able to get some communications over Hawaii, but we're not sure. We did go to what we call the high power mode for that particular pass, and that's designed simply to try to punch through the fireball, or actually it was put on the vehicle for during ascent to get through the flame, the attenuation from the ascent engines. So it was an iffy thing, and we knew that going into Hawaii, and we were pleased to get that data on that pass. I don't know yet exactly what he was making reference to as far as what he was seeing out the window.
Okay, we're going to take 2 more questions and close it. That gentleman on the next to the last row.
Yeah, John Pine of Reuters. Following up on the commercial aspects of these flights and all these contracts that have been made, how close do they come to actually paying for the flight in percentage terms? I mean, how long will it be before this thing is carrying its own weight?
Well, the way we've set the price is to recoup the operating cost over a 12-year period. So probably over a period of time like that, we would hope to be able to recover the operating cost of the vehicle on a per-flight basis in terms of what we charge the commercial customers.
Peter Larson.
Two quick questions. One, if you encounter high winds at White Sands during the coming week, those dust storms or sandstorms, would they do scouring damage to the vehicle?
No, we don't believe so. We did, of course, have winds and sand out there at Edwards at times, and as a matter of fact, the gypsum is alleged to be finer and less able to damage the spacecraft than the sand that we saw at Edwards. So we don't think that's too much of a problem, although it will certainly be a nuisance and it will certainly give us a cleanup headache, and it will certainly stop work in many cases, but we don't view it as a threat to the ship.
Secondly, is the Columbia still scheduled to go back to Palmdale for some mods after Flight 5?
Yes.
Okay, let's take one final question and close it. Jules Bergman.
Glenn, you say recoup the operating costs over a 12-year period. What about the R&D costs? Does the price per flight, I'm a commercial user, does the price you quote me per flight get back the R&D as well as the operating cost?
No. No.
It's not intended to.
No, it's not intended to. It gets back the operating cost. And the philosophy is that the government put the system in place as much as anything for its own purposes, and then what we charge people is what it approximately costs to operate it as we go along.
Are you getting back your cost per launch now?
No.
When will you?
Probably after several years of operation. You know, probably 5, 6 years of operation.
Okay, thank you very much. Our current understanding that the crew will arrive back at Ellington at 4 p.m. Central Time today. We'll update that arrival time as we get updates.
Okay, Jerry.